Stand up, New York Giant fans. Baddog, we're back a week closer to the regular season. We got 3 weeks to go. We were saying before we went live, not a whole lot to talk about. There's little things here and there, but we're kind of waiting for the nitty gritty, which is the regular season. Good news out of the first week of preseason for the most part. Doesn't look like we had any serious injuries. So that's good. And that's really the most important thing this time of year. But what's going on, my man?
Long time no see.
Yeah.
Last night, Patty's channel, but that is the goal this time of year is to get your guys reps, get them acclimated, get them in football shape. Get them hit a little bit. And no injuries. I mean, that's really what everybody's trying to do this time of year. You try to evaluate your players the best you can, but again, everything's really vanilla. You're usually going against the second stringers, and yeah, I'm looking forward to the game tomorrow. I mean, I always look forward to Giants football just to see what the rookies do again, see if they take a step forward, see if Jalen High can get anything going. I don't know if the starters are playing. I don't know if Daboll's mentioned if they were playing. No one him, he didn't.
Right.
But we'll find out together. But either way, I love watching Giants football, and I'm excited to get the regular season started. There's no question week one is of optimal importance. And
yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait. I do think tomorrow we will see a little bit of the starters. I could even see maybe a quarter you get out of the starters, but I still don't read too much into preseason football. I never do, whether it's great or horrible. It's a watered down playbook, but you're still excited. Like you said, you're still excited to see your guys, especially the rookies. Banks had a really good performance his first game. That's encouraging, especially knowing that he's going to get tested early on this year. With some of the wide receiving cores we're going up against, we'll get another look at John Michael Schmitz. I kind of hope that they just wrap Darren Waller up in bubble wrap because we need him for the start of the regular season. Same thing for Saquon, but we'll see. But yeah, excited. Nevertheless, excited to see the first teamers out there this week because I do expect to see the first teamers. Alex, man, thank you very much for the $2 donation. Let's say hello to a couple of boys in the chat. What's up there, Jody? What's going on there, Papa Goose? What's going on? Amazing guy, Mehmet in the house, Afghanistan in the house, the Big Moo in the house, Rob in the house, Ryan D in the house, Blitz 56 now, Cy Guy in the house. We got Dire Giants fan and OG in the house. Thank you so much for being here. And Toasty says, what are the chances Gronk is a Giant? I say 5%. Zero.
Yeah, right. Zero.
Absolutely 0%. I know that. I mean, as Giants fans, that's nice to hear. Just the fact that he went out of his way. I mean, this is a guy who has played for Bill Belichick. Like you would have thought he would have said the only guy I'd come out of retirement for is Bill Belichick, greatest coach of all time. And he said the only coach, if he was going to come out of retirement, that he would play for is Brian Daboll. But I mean, come on, 0%. The guy's not coming back to play football. So,
and what we need him for? I mean, what can he do at this point? He's retired 3 times. He's tried wrestling. He's tried announcing. I don't know what else he can do. But yeah, I mean, it's a nice thing that he said he'd only come back and play for Brian Daboll, which tells you that current and former players alike have a lot of respect for him, which is good because couldn't say that for quite some time here with this organization. A couple of coaches that came, in between Coughlin and now Daboll. Nobody wanted to go out of the way to play for Ben McAdoo or Pat Shermer or Joe Judge.
Right.
For sure, but you're hearing this from Pugh, you're hearing this from Gronkowski, you're hearing it from Ashawn. I think a lot of the guys, I think a lot of them took 1-year deals to play for Brian Daboll, your Paris Campbells and Darius Slayton wanted to be here. And, I think a big reason Saquon signed the tag was because of the coaching staff. So Saquon had a lot of glowing reviews to say about the running backs coach. That I can tell you. He did compliment him quite a bit. So
it was nice. It was nice to hear.
Definitely, but the Giants are doing it the right way. I mean, this is what gives me optimism. I always love the last few years before last year was like, oh, you're so negative. I'm like, but they didn't give me a reason to be positive. You're looking at the construction of this team, the coaching, and the way we were drafting, and the way not even so much a draft because Gettleman did have some good draft picks, but the way we handled trades and the cap and.
Right.
It was a complete mess. So
there's a clear plan now. There's a clear plan now.
Yeah, exactly.
It's impossible not to be more optimistic than you were, regardless of how, not you specifically, I'm just saying in general, regardless of how pessimistic of a fan that you may be. It's impossible not to be more optimistic with what you've seen thus far with Joe Shane. The guy has a clear plan, and I think most fans would tell you we're headed in the right direction.
Yeah.
The question is, how far is that direction going to get us in the near future? We're going to find out this year.
Yeah.
Alex, what's going on, man? He says Cop Bizzle keeps bringing you all up, but I'm going to be honest, Alex. I got nothing against Cop Bizzle. I don't watch YouTube when I'm not on YouTube. I that's the truth. So that's no offense to anybody. I'm not on YouTube. He could say whatever he wants. Don't really care. I don't know what. I don't really care.
Everybody's entitled to their own opinion, so whatever they say, they say. I listen. Any exposure is good.
Yeah, I don't know.
Much like this, man. When I'm not on YouTube, like I'm not on YouTube. Like I have too many things. I mean, I work full-time job. I have a family. I go to the gym. Like I don't really have a lot of time. I wish I had more time, but I don't. But listen, man, everybody, you can think what they want, can say what they want. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion, and I have no problem with people like me. Awesome, they don't. Awesome. I mean, you're not going to please everybody, and it is what it is.
I don't care. I'm not on here for drama. So I best of luck to him. He's a Giants fan. Hopefully he has a fun year. Don't care what he says about us. Yeah, Jason, man, thank you very much.
I honestly don't know what happened, but
yeah, I have no idea. I being dead honest, no disrespect to any Giants content creator. When I'm not on YouTube, like Baddog said, I'm not on YouTube. I felt like I used to spend way too much time on YouTube. So yeah, there's no offense to anybody. I think everybody does a great job. Jason, thank you very much, man. What do you think our defense would look like if we signed Barr? I know he's past his prime, but he could be used as a weapon, blitzing and help the run D. I mean, I'm for it. I don't think he's going to be a high impact player. The guy has, I know he's a multi-time Pro Bowler, but the guy hasn't played in a long time. Could he help the depth? Yeah, of course. I mean, we got some young linebackers. I thought McFadden actually looked pretty good in his last preseason game, but is he a guy that you could trust for a full season? That's still a major question mark. Same can be said for Beavers. So I'd be for it. I mean, if it was a cheap enough deal, yeah, of course. He also has some experience with our defensive line coach while he was with Minnesota. So that may be a factor as well for why he may entertain wanting to come to the New York Giants. But, I mean, it would be a nice piece for sure. We need some depth at that linebacker spot. But do I expect him to come in and be an all-world player? No. But it'd be a nice piece of the rotation. Sure, I'd be completely for it. Absolutely.
Yeah, depending on what he's asking. I wanted him to draft Anthony Barr. I remember that because we needed a linebacker. We've always needed linebackers. Since the 80s, the early 90s, we've needed linebackers. Big time.
Yeah.
I grew up with the best linebacking core in the league, with Peppers and Johnson, of course, LT, Banks, and Carson. Banks will be in the Hall of Fame eventually.
It's ridiculous.
Those four guys are going to be Hall of Famers.
Bad look. Let's talk about that briefly real quick today. And I'm not too upset about it because I think it would be unbelievable if he got to go in with Eli, and maybe that's what will happen. That would be I would have to go to Canton if that were to happen. If Coughlin and Eli went in together. But the fact that Tom Coughlin didn't make the Hall of Fame, that's ridiculous. How does that happen?
So when I heard this, I looked at like his coaching stats.
Yeah.
He won 2 Super Bowls. I mean, to me, that should get you into the Hall of Fame. His record was only 170 and 150, so it's not like it was great. I know he took Jacksonville to the AFC Championship early on.
2
in Jackson, right? 2. Well, 1 didn't. Oh no, they beat the hell out of him.
2 as a coach. 2 as a head coach.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, and he was in, the receivers coach of the 1990 Giants, so he actually got a ring there too. So I don't really know. Like Tom Flores won 2 championships with the Raiders in 1980 and 83. And I know it took him a while to get into. So I think, again, I think Coughlin will be in eventually. I mean, he has to be. But maybe that was their thinking. I don't really know how guys get in the Hall of Fame. And everybody out there knows that I'm leading the campaign for Tiki Barr to be in the Hall of Fame because how you're like top, whatever he was, top 15 in all-time scrimmage yards or something crazy like that. And having 10,000 yards and averaging almost 5 yards a carry and having another 5,500 yards receiving. I don't know how he's not,
yeah.
When other guys get in there, but a lot of it's political. I don't know who votes for it. I don't know if it's the writers. We all know what Major League Baseball, if you're a favorite of the media, they put you in, a la David Ortiz, who we all know used PEDs. He was a career DH. Like, why is he in the Hall of Fame? It doesn't make any sense. There's guys like Harold Baines don't belong in there. There's a bunch of guys that don't belong in the Baseball Hall of Fame. All of a sudden, they're just putting everybody in. It was very tough to get in there. Football, it's not really tough to get in, but they just have their favorites. And although, in my opinion, Eli's a first ballot Hall of Famer, depending on who votes, that may not happen.
He won't. He won't get in first ballot. We know that. I mean, I agree with you, but he won't get in first ballot. And to be fair, I'd have to do some research. I don't know how they determine the coaches. I don't know if it's only one coach a year. I don't know how they do it. But still, when you see the news that Tom Coughlin didn't go into the Hall of Fame, you mentioned some of the things that he did. Yeah, he took the Jaguars to the AFC title game, their second year in existence. Took him to another AFC title game. Then he goes to the Giants, like you said, wins 2 Super Bowls, but the fashion in which he won it. You knocked up the greatest team in the history of football. Like everybody says, you can't tell the story of the NFL without Eli Manning. But you can't tell the story of the NFL without Tom Coughlin. He's linked at the hip with Eli, right? So he's going to get in. It's obvious, but a little bit of a letdown if you're a Giants fan today to hear that Tom Coughlin didn't get elected to Kent. But he'll be, like you said, he'll be in there. Just would have liked him to get in there sooner. But hopefully him and Eli going together. That'd be great.
I'm trying to see what year. Well, it's not popping up. I wanted to see what year he went into. So he Coughlin. Flores was a coach from 1979 to 1987, and then again, so 12 years, won 2 Super Bowls with the Raiders in 80 and 83. I don't know why it's not. Well, I can just look this up.
I'm just gonna read what Jason.
How long it took him to get in there? 2021. So it did take him a while to get in there, almost 20 years. Now I hope they wouldn't do that to Coughlin.
No, he's too old, man. You got to get him in soon.
Tom Flores is still alive. He's 86.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, but he was also a quarterback. Not that he was a good quarterback, but yeah. So it took Flores a while to get in there, and
I think Coughlin will get in much sooner.
They were the first wild card team to ever win a Super Bowl, the 1980 Raiders.
I know. Yeah, I remember that. I didn't know he was the coach, but I remember that stat as a kid.
And then, of course, they beat Philadelphia. Thank you, Tom Flores. And
I just want
to and Kenny King. And then 83, they beat one of the best teams ever in the 83 Redskins, and they blew them out. So Flores was a good coach. He just it took a while. So hopefully don't take Coughlin that long, but I don't know what the criteria is for a coach to get in the Hall of Fame.
He'll get in. Jason, thank you very much, man. He says, "Did you guys read the comment in which Justin Jefferson would be?" It's not a real comment. That was a troll, Jason. I saw that on Twitter. Got like 2,000 likes. That's the problem with Twitter, Baddog. Yeah, and just social media in general. Like one guy you could just say anything, and it just gains traction, and all of a sudden you get people believing it.
That's why all the Eagle content creators say, "Oh, Aaron Donald's going to be." Everyone's going to be Eagle because of that Bleed Green Nation. That blogger just says everybody's going to be an Eagle, and they
believe it. It's something to talk about.
Right.
But that was a complete troll comment. The guy, I even saw the guy said it in some of the responses from within the tweet. So, I mean, that's great. I hope that Justin Jefferson feels that way, but he didn't say it. I kill your vibe. Thank you very much, man. Coach Coughlin was snubbed, disgraceful by the Hall of Fame. I mean, I agree. I think he belongs in the Hall of Fame. The only thing that would make it better would be, like I said, him and Eli getting to go in together. Big Daddy, what's going on, man? How many seasons did we say draft the center? Shane did. Yeah, I mean, the Richburg,
That's
right?
True.
Yeah. Richburg was the last guy. What'd you say?
Creed Humphrey.
And
Trevor Lindenbaum.
We wanted Ruiz that one year out of Michigan.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm thrilled. It's the first relatively high drafted center we've taken since Richburg. And Richburg was solid for us. Obviously, it didn't work out long term. He had some injuries, ended up with the 49ers. But yeah, I mean, he looks the part, Big Daddy. I'm not going to go crazy. It's preseason. You're going up against second teamers, but he looked the part for a rookie in his first preseason game. So really excited to see what he could build upon here week 2 of the preseason tomorrow night. He's definitely going to be one of the guys that you got your eyes on, along with Jalen Hyatt and, Hawkins. See how he does in his second game, along with Deontay Banks.
It's kind of why I hope.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say real quick, that's kind of why I'm hoping Daniel Jones does play.
Yeah.
Just to see if Hyatt can, I know the one play, it's hard to see the whole field, and I don't go back and look at film. I'm not Joe Judge, so I don't go look at the tape. But I know that one play, I saw Hyatt break open down the right sideline, and Tyrod just didn't see him, and he started running. So I just, I want to see Jones and Hyatt together. I just want to see.
Oh, you and me both.
Yeah, I want to see the speed, baby.
Take some shots, man. Toasty, thank you very much, man. Preseason doesn't matter much. The 0-16 Browns went 4-0. The 0-7, the undefeated Pats went 0-4. You're more watching individual player performance than team. Yeah, I mean, Toasty, I remember a couple of years ago, the Giants went undefeated and they were horrible. I mean, in the preseason, right? So it means almost nothing. Not even almost. It means nothing to me in terms of how your team plays and whether or not you win the football game. Are there certain things that you get encouraged by from individual players, specifically young ones? Yeah, but it don't matter until the regular season starts. At the end of the day, yeah, I'm excited with Deonte Banks' performance in his first game, but he's going up against the vanilla playbook. Let's be honest with ourselves. He's also going up against the second-string quarterback. He was guarding a first-round wide receiver in Jameson Williams, and he looked good. The same thing for JMS. So you're not going to get a real feel for any of these players, really, if we're being honest with ourselves, until the start of the regular season. There are traits that you can see, and you could be like, okay, yeah, I see, this guy's got a lot of potential. Like Banks looked really good in terms of going stride for stride with a really fast receiver in Williams. But overall, you're not gonna get a real taste of this team until week 1 against the Dallas Cowboys. That's just
he's gonna get tested then.
Yeah.
Tested. His closing speed is really
fantastic.
And he's a physical corner. I mean, both him and Hawkins are pretty good sized corners, and they got good athleticism. So it certainly helps. But like I mentioned either last night or the week before, if these guys are playing that well, where Dable, well, I don't know if it's Dable, obviously Wink Martindale, if they're considering those two guys, your two rookies, to play outside and move a Doherty to the slot, it's going to make your secondary like that much deeper. And then obviously if Pinnock can continue to play the way he has this preseason, I mean, he's looked pretty damn good.
Dude, I posted on Twitter about 2 hours ago. Nobody talked about the Pinnock signing last year in terms of everything. Everybody's attention was on Hodgins, and Pinnock was solid for the Giants last year, but he didn't get a ton of playing time because of Julian Love. But the way that Pinnock has looked so far, that's a guy that I will read a little bit into what you've heard of it in the practices, how he's looked. But I don't want to go overboard because I remember last preseason, Darnay Holmes. Everybody's going crazy about Darnay Holmes. Oh, every practice he's in on a fumble. He's doing this. He's doing. So there's a difference between practice and game. That's just the truth. But Pinnock looked really good in his first preseason game. He had that great interception. You've heard nothing but great things about him. So, yeah, really encouraging stuff. And it looks to be, it was a very good pickup, regardless of what happens. You're paying him less than $1 million a year for the next 2 years. So that was a great pickup by the Giants. Last year, they fortunately had a high waiver priority because they were so bad the year before. Right. And I remember when we snatched Pinnock before the year started, everybody was shocked that the Jets dropped them to begin with. But the Jets had a really deep secondary, so the New York Giants were able to take advantage of that.
Yep.
Listen, we talking about practice.
But in all seriousness, you don't want to get too high or too low during this time of year, but you like to hear positive things about your players as opposed to, Pinnock's getting killed, Pinnock's getting beaten coverage, Pinnock's holding and all this other stuff. So you definitely want to hear, good things out of camp, and so far so good for the Giants.
Yeah, I'm excited, man. I can't wait. King Josh says, do you know what's up with he had a leg injury, didn't he? I'm not a doctor. I just know what was said. I think he missed 2 practices, if I'm not mistaken. He's had a leg injury. It doesn't sound like, at least from the the sound clips that I've heard from Dable when he talked about it, that it's like anything overly serious. I think he'll be ready to go week 1. I'm not too worried about it. And that's a player that I don't really worry too much if he misses a little bit of time. Like Evan Neal, to me, that's really bad because he's a young player. You want him to get as many reps as you possibly can.
All right.
Beasley's a guy that's familiar with Dable in the scheme. Obviously, you want him to get his reps because he's never really played with Daniel Jones, but he's a guy that if he misses a couple of weeks, I think he'll still be ready to go week 1 and be able to help this football team. But hopefully he gets out there soon. I would guess he doesn't play tomorrow because he hasn't played the last couple of days, but that gives Jamison Crowder a chance to step up tomorrow. We'll see how he does in the slot with some, added opportunities. Sterling Shepard maybe get some exposure. So we'll see. But I'm excited. I'm excited to see who gets the opportunity tomorrow. But I don't think the Beasley thing sounds too serious, Joe. And Court, man, thank you very much, man. I appreciate it, man. Thank you for the incredible generosity. He says, because I have faith in the New York Giants, I believe that we could beat the Eagles in one of our 2 meetings, provided that we don't sustain a plethora of injuries like we do every season. Listen, Corp, going into the year, everybody obviously, and rightfully so, is going to say we're getting swept. I understand it. Or most people are going to say it, especially if you're not a Giants fan, of course. I understand it. Of course, they were the best team in football last year in terms of a 53-man roster, them or the 49ers. And when they played us, they walloped us all three. Well, the other time it was backups. I don't count that. But the 2 times the starters played, they destroyed us. We looked like a minor league football team going up against them. And yeah, I'd be lying to you if I told you that I thought we have closed the gap from a talent standpoint. But I'd also be lying to you if I could tell you that I know for sure we're getting swept when we don't play the Philadelphia Eagles until like week 15.
Right. Play the games.
The way
we're not playing Christmas.
Yeah. So the way we're going to look, Bad Dog, and the way the Eagles are going to look at that point in the season, we have no idea. Like the Eagles over the last couple of years have been very fortunate with injuries. They've stayed very healthy. And I'm not knocking their football team. They got a lot of depth. They got a great football team. But you don't know what they're going to look like week 15. You don't know what we're going to look like week 15. So, that's why they play the games. Maybe you got momentum going into that game. You don't know. So
that's one of the best things.
Bad Dog. I'm not going into the year saying they swept us already. No, we got a chance.
Got play.
Yeah.
On paper, they're better, but by the time we get there, maybe they're not better on paper. You don't know. Maybe they have a down year. Maybe they have a Super Bowl hangover. Maybe they have some injuries to their old line or something. And maybe A.J. Brown is a hamstring. Anything can happen. And we don't play them for a long, long time. So, yeah, on paper, you would think, and that's like Eagles said, no problem.
I get it. I would too.
You know what? Right now, that doesn't matter. What's going to matter is how both of the teams are playing in December, because we're not going to see those guys for almost 4 months. And things are going to be way different from week 1 to week 16 or whenever we play them. I think we play them Christmas, and then we play them last week of the season. So, I'm not sure.
And who knows? And the last week, you don't even know if, we may have the division wrapped up by then. We may be resting our starters. You don't know.
That'd be the best thing ever. That'd be the best thing ever if well, no, it wouldn't work because we're playing Philadelphia, so I guess it wouldn't matter.
Well, it would be the best thing ever if we were resting our starters because we locked up the division, and the Eagles were resting their starters because they were trying to tank because they had the biggest fall off of a season and they only won 4.
That'd be unbelievable.
Super Bowl hangover for the Eagles this year.
That'd be great.
Hey, Bad Dog, let me ask you this. This is what's the beautiful about the NFL. And by no means am I predicting the Eagles to do this. Going in, you'd be a fool to say that the Eagles aren't one of the top 2 teams in the NFC. You'd be a fool to say that going in. Things change drastically. But you probably would have been a fool last year going into the season if you didn't say the Rams were a top 3 or 4 team in the NFL. They had just won the Super Bowl.
Right.
So things happen in the NFL, and they happen quick. It's a game of injuries, right, and momentum. So you don't know until you play the games.
That's right, and we don't play them for a long time. So what both of these teams look like at the beginning of September and what they look like at the end of December are going to be 2 totally different animals. So we'll just have to wait and see. I wish we did play them a little earlier in the year, but they like to wait till the end of the year to play Philadelphia. So
as long as we beat them.
Like leg day, I always put it off to the end of the week. I had to do that today, though, because I can't go. I can't do when I wake up from my 24-hour stream. When I wake up at like 2, I'll probably go to the gym and do shoulders. I wasn't going to do legs. That's a brutal. Anybody that saw that short on my freaking channel, that's no joke. That's a lot of weight.
I'm gonna have to watch that one when I get a chance.
Yeah, I was pushing 680 pounds in the sled. That's 4 times my body weight. I want to be like Saquon, man. I was pushing it.
By the way, Bad Dog, we almost got 600 people in here. You guys are the best. Thank you guys for being the best supporters on YouTube. Hit that thumbs up. Subscribe. Ring the bell. We'll be live on Bad Dogs tomorrow for the second preseason game for the New York Giants. So excited to see how they do tomorrow.
Kobe says, be live for 24 straight hours after that. So there you go.
True. Yeah, he's crazy. Kobe says, game on the line, 3rd and 10, DJ or Lamar. Give me DJ all day.
Yeah.
I'll take DJ.
I'll take DJ. Lamar last year. Lamar fell apart. DJ led us to the victory.
I'll take DJ. I'll say it loud and proud. I'll take DJ. So I don't really, I'm not into this comparing of quarterbacks. I'm happy with my quarterback, and I've gotten to the point where week to week going into games, I'm confident that he's going to give my team a very good chance to win football games. That's where I'm at with Daniel Jones. You want to put him 13th, 14th on your barbershop list? I don't give a crap, Bad Dog. To me, Daniel Jones gives this team a very good chance to win football games week in, week out. That's what I believe. And obviously, Joe Shane and Brian Dable believe the same thing. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here.
Correct. And they, again, they didn't really believe in him going forward, or they would have picked up the 5th-year option and saved themselves some money because it was $22 million. They had to believe it. They had to see it for themselves, just like I did. I had to see it for myself. He impressed me. I'm not the one that matters. The coaching staff and the front office are the ones that matter. And if he impressed them, Obviously, they believe he can do what they ask him to do and be successful at that. So they're going to build around Daniel Jones. And, like we talked about last time with Patty, for whatever reason it don't work, they're out after 2 years. So that's why the contract is great. People just look at the money, Chris. They don't look at the way it's constructed. They don't look at the way it's structured. The contract. You see $160 million. Oh, he's overpaid.
Yeah.
That's really what it is.
It's apples and oranges, though, when you compare it to, like, we talked about it last night, but with the Dak contract, it was 3 years ago. It's like it's not the same thing, but people don't care. They don't put context into things. Right. Eddie says, I hate how the media constantly shits on Jones, yet they praise mediocre quarterbacks. It pisses me off that they can't give him his praise. I hope Jones silences his haters this year. Go Giants. Eddie, at the end of the day, he's a New York Giant. He plays in New York. Easy target. And if we're being honest, he has not, put up the most gaudy of stats. So if you don't watch the team week in and week out and you don't use your brain and say, okay, well, there's a reason. Like, I think a lot of football fans, Baddog, we say it all the time, but fantasy football has made football so statistically driven. And football is not baseball. Baseball is a game where it's pretty much cut and dry. Pitcher throws the ball. If you could hit, you're going to bat 300. It's not the same thing in football. It's the ultimate team sport. You rely on the team around you, whether it be the players, whether it be the coaches, whether it be the scheme. Yep. But because of fantasy football, because of the drive for statistics in today's game, I think too many people don't question why players have the stats that they do when it comes to football. That's my opinion on the matter. Rather than saying, like, it's just stupid to me. Daniel Jones would have thrown 30 touchdowns his rookie year. But if he played 16 games, he only played 12 games. He threw 24. But if you watch Daniel Jones' rookie year and you watch Daniel Jones last year, they're not even close. They're not even close in terms of the player. Not even close. But people just like to point at these stupid touchdown passes, and they don't say to themselves, well, why was that? Why did Daniel Jones only have 15 touchdown passes in 16 games? Let me take a look around at the roster. Let me broaden my horizons and realize that Daniel Jones was the first year in an offensive scheme. Let me realize that he had a smart coach who realized that the Giants' only chance to win football games was to grind out the clock because they had no playmakers on the outside, because they had a shoddy offensive line, and because they didn't have the best of defenses. They needed to control the clock. Mm-hmm. People don't think like that anymore, Baddog. It's all about stats.
It really is, and that's why I've always said statistics tell half the story, and statistics are for fantasy football and losers. Because if you're losing, you always want to point out the stats. If you're winning, who cares? I've always said, man, the only stat that matters is a W, But I can tell you this. I was watching because, people are like, oh, you were all over Daniel Jones last year. Now you change your mind. I love that. Oh, how can you change your mind? Well, Jesus. I mean, I use this example, and I use it all the time. So when you're 16, and I'm just using it now. You're 16 years old. You get a girlfriend. She screws your friend behind your back. You're not supposed to change your mind. Oh, you got to stay with her forever because you made up your mind she was the one. How can you possibly change your mind? What happened? Did she change? Did that change your mind? Yeah. Daniel Jones played better. So I changed my mind. It's the most ridiculous crap ever. Yeah. You change your mind in everyday life all the time. That's a job, Chris. What do you have a job? And you worked there for 2 years, and you're like, what? This sucks. Well, you can't change your mind. You can't be like, I don't really like this job anymore. Oh, I said I liked it, so now I have to stick with it. Come on, man. What are we talking about here?
Yeah.
What are we talking about here? So, yeah. Oh, you would talk about it all the time. If the GM wasn't giving him a fifth year, and the quarterback had to prove himself to the GM, I don't think I was that far off saying he's got to prove himself to me. But I was looking at one of my old videos, and in the video, I don't know how many times I always felt like my criticism of him was fair. Mm-hmm. And even last year, before the year started, you'll find no receipts of me ever saying Tyrod Taylor should start or we should draft a quarterback. I didn't want Jimmy Garoppolo. I kept saying Daniel Jones. I want Daniel Jones here. And I said in one of the videos, I think Daniel Jones is going to have a very good year. And I said, I'll go on record and say, I think he's got the best year he had since his rookie season. He'll definitely better than it was the last 2 years. Yeah. So I did believe in him. I didn't believe in him. He was very confused. He was aggravating to me because he would show flashes of being a really good quarterback and then regress and look like he didn't belong on the field. Like the one interception he threw, I don't know if it was against Tampa, when he threw it right to the nose tackle who was laying on the ground. Like, I'm like, what was that? Like, he would do things like that. It would drive me crazy.
Well, even week 1 against the Titans last year, the interception to Saquon where Dable lit into him. That was like his one. He maybe threw 2 real. If off the top of my head, he only threw 5 interceptions, but I think he that was an atrocious interception. He might have had one other really bad interception last year. I remember he had 2 against the Lions. I think at least one of them were real, but. That was a play where you could be like, yeah, that's can't happen. You're 4th year in the league, that can't happen. But overall, he learned from that. He got much better over the course of the year.
That's all you could ask for. He took him but you know what's funny? It's almost like these guys. It's almost like the quarterbacks, and I mentioned this too. It must be something with the position with the Giants and being a quarterback. Phil Simms, very similar. Not like the way they play the game, but very similar to Daniel Jones. 7th out of Morehead State in 1979. Fans booed the hell out of that pick. Pete Rozelle actually went back and laughed. He kind of looked at it like, yeah, that's who they took, and they laughed. And then, he dealt with some bad years and injuries, and he got benched in 83. And so it took him a few years to get going. And then once he found his footing, the Giants became a really good team. Now, the team was pretty good when Eli got there. Eli was bad in 04, but we made the playoffs in 05, 06, and obviously won the Super Bowl in 07. Right. But statistically, Eli was not great. Those first few years, he threw a lot of interceptions, he threw a lot of touchdowns, but he threw a lot of it. He turned the ball over a lot, and fans were rough on Eli. But Simms won Super Bowls, still never got the credit he deserved. Eli won Super Bowls, still never got the credit he deserved. Daniel Jones could win 2 Super Bowls, and he probably still will never get the credit he deserves. So maybe it's something with the Giants quarterbacks. I mean, I don't know. Obviously, Graham, Cannell, and Dave Brown sucked, so nobody cares. Kerry Collins wasn't really here long enough for it to matter.
Kerry Collins was solid. He was a good.
Yeah, he took us to a Super Bowl. So but he wasn't drafted. Well,
he was a stopgap.
But you get my point. So
Durant says thoughts on Wink's comments about KD's practice. Yeah, I heard about it. I'm going to pull it up now so I can get the exact comments. I heard about people talking about it on Twitter. I know that I saw Thibodeau's response to it. I didn't see what Wink said specifically. This is what Kayvon said. It was him. I'll just pull it up so the chat can read it. Let me see. This is what
If I can plug something real quick.
Go ahead, Baddog.
I know a lot of you guys have been asking me, like, when's our next NFC East roundtable and stuff. So supposedly it's next week. It's going to be Wednesday. But this morning, we made like a combined channel. So every NFC East roundtable with me, Louis T, Lord Brunson, and Law Nation, every one of those is going to be on this channel. So if you guys want to see that, I'm just going to put it in the chat here. Go over there and sub to this channel. That's our Super Friends channel. So all the Super Friends streams are going to be on that channel. So go over there and subscribe to it. Otherwise, you're going to miss it. But that's where they're going to be from now on. So
you got a specific channel.
Yeah, we did it. We did it just for that. So it wasn't kind of like split up amongst the four.
Cool.
We didn't have one solid group of people in the stream. So if you guys want to check it out, there it is. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate that. We'll do it again.
Yeah, for sure. I'm just gonna. I saw the tidbit of what Tibbs had to say. I'm just gonna read his response. Obviously, Wink must have called him out because then he was asked about it. And then Tibbs' response was, players love to know what they need to get better at. Thibodeau said on Wednesday, the last thing anybody needs at this level of the game is someone to blow them smoke. It was him wanting to let me know that he feels like he'd be a Pro Bowler this year. He feels like could kind of take that league by storm, and me knowing that him saying it really doesn't mean much, right? It's about what you do every day, Thibodeau said. That's kind of the conversation we had, that I'm the only one that could get me to the places that I want to be. Martindale's known bluntness plays well with the players because he treats them equally, no favorites. And then he says, if you're not growing, you are losing. Thibodeau said, if I don't become a better player, I'm going to be out in 3 years. That's the truth of the NFL. Just understanding that if I want to be here for a long time, it has to be a continuous growth. I think it's about always having accountability, about just being a leader and doing things the right way, just continuing to be a leader, continue to work on my game. I mean, in terms of his response, I love it. And I got no whatever, man. I think the Giants showed you last year that they, it was funny in the Boomer and Gio interview, he flat out admitted it, Brian Dable, where he said that they intentionally made it harder on Daniel Jones last year in practice. And a lot of people kind of disputed that in my comments. I remember when I talked about it, I made the video, I said that was nonsense. Dable came out and literally said it. So, and I think they did the same thing to Banks early on in training camp this year. You heard, I think Art Stapleton said it, they were constantly putting Waller on him. So the Giants are known to challenge their players, to test them through adversity. So I love it. I mean, I love it. It's almost like a challenge to Kayvon. He wants him to continue to improve as a player. But as far as what Kayvon had to say, how do you not love what Kayvon had to say? Kayvon just spoke the truth. That's the world of the NFL, Bad Dog. Out of all the leagues in all four major sports, football more so than any other is a what have you done for me lately league.
Absolutely.
It just is. And that's what he said in that statement. He's got to continue to grow. He's got to have that hunger to want to be better. And I think he does. And I think he's going to be really good for the Giants this year. But I got no issue with any of it.
It's a great attitude that he has. And yeah, I think when Wink knows he's special. Wink knows, and anybody that watched Kayvon Thibodeau last year knows he's special. There's a lot of talent there. And yeah, maybe it didn't show up. Again, this goes back to stats. People look at it and go, oh, he only had 4 sacks. Ain't shit. The guy sucks. He's a bust. But if you watched him play and you saw how many damn times the guy got held, which was constantly, he was always in the backfield. He's chasing that running back. He was a disruptor. So he did a lot of other things. And, if you have Azeez Ojulari on the other side, when Kayvon Thibodeau is taking up a lot of defensive attention from the offense, that allows other players to make plays. It's kind of like the same thing when you have Leo and Dex in the middle, when, you're taking up a lot of your guys, that leads for another. But, they're double teaming those guys in the middle. Obviously, that's going to leave some open holes for the linebackers to get there. Wink wants to blitz. So it's not always about the statistics. That's why I say it really. It's just what your eyes tell you. And everybody's opinion is different. So just because I think something doesn't mean somebody else should think the same thing, because we all see things differently. But yeah, my point is you can't just look at the stat sheet. Like you said, baseball, yes.
Baseball
you can look at it because it's a
variables in baseball surrounding lineup, ballpark you playing, but it's much more. You should value stats a lot more baseball than football. Yeah,
it's mano a mano.
Yeah,
pitcher versus batter. No one's helping the batter. No one's helping the pitcher.
What weather also influences stats in football and baseball? It really does not, unless you're playing like the thin air in Colorado. It does not.
Right, so exactly. That's a great point. If you're playing in a dome or a warm weather climate where it's not windy and it's not snowing and it's not sleeting, then yeah, you should have better statistics, because if you're trying to throw into a headwind of 25 miles an hour, and anybody that's been to MetLife or the old Meadowlands knows, and that wind comes off the Hudson in December, it's cold.
Yeah.
And the wind blows a lot and it sucks. And it sucks more for the quarterback, because wind is the worst thing for a quarterback. It's the worst thing for a golfer. You really can't play, and the wind can do crazy things with the ball. So it does matter. It matters.
Yeah.
The Northeast is much tougher to play in the winter than.
There's a reason. There's a reason that it's. I don't think it's a coincidence, Bad Dog. Football has been played in the New York, New Jersey area since the early 1900s in the NFL. The Giants were in 1925. I don't know when the Jets came around.
I think 1960 they were the Titans.
Whenever it was.
In 63 they became the Jets.
During that entire time, you're talking about a combination of like 160 years worth of football. There has never been an otherworldly statistical dominant quarterback outside of maybe Joe Namath for a year or two with the Jets for his era. There has never been. Eli Manning was really good. He never had incredible stats. If you don't think the weather has anything to do with that, you're out of your mind. Why do you think Miami, I should say Miami, but the Chargers, historically, always, Justin Herbert's putting up stats, Dan Fouts putting up stats, Phillip Rivers putting up stats, sunny California. If you don't think weather plays a factor into why certain teams have quarterbacks to put up incredible stats, you're fooling yourself.
And then when you get guys, when they get the greatest of all time, your Aaron Rodgers, your Brett Favre's played in cold-ass Green Bay, your Tom Brady.
Of course, yeah.
It's just different. But for the most part, yeah, it's tough to throw in the Northeast.
I mean, the Meadowlands was the windiest stadium in the history of the NFL.
Yeah, I mean they used to open up the garage door there so that the wind would blow and they'd mess up the field goal kickers on the other team.
And Black Thumbs, thank you very much, man. Should we kick Neal to right guard if we get Pugh? No, absolutely not. I'd be open to Pugh. We talked about this last night on Patricia's channel. I'd be open to Pugh. It'd be a nice story. Bring him back, former Giant, as a depth guy. I don't expect him to start if we get him. He's a guy that could come in if somebody gets hurt and maybe if somebody's really struggling throughout the season. But no, you're not moving Neal, man. You drafted Neal 7th overall to play tackle. You're not giving up on him after one season. That's not happening. If this year Neal doesn't look like he's any better, that's at least when that starts to crop into your head. Maybe. But this year, Evan Neal's playing right tackle. He's staying at right tackle. I don't want him moved for anybody. He's our right tackle this year. That's the only way he's going to get better. He's got to play the position. He's got to learn. He's got to grow. Justin Pugh ain't playing tackle. And even if we were to sign a guy like that, I wouldn't expect him to start. At this point, you're more than halfway through training camp, the off season, the preseason. You're 3 weeks away from the start of the regular season. We talk about how the offensive line, you need chemistry. You need to build with one another, which I don't love this shifting in and out at the guard position that's been talked about as of late. Because of that, I think you need cohesion, but these guys have been playing next to one another. They're getting used to playing, Thomas is accustomed now to the guy on his right. Same thing with Evan Neal. I don't want to mess with that going into the year. I want the guys that are the projected starters to start the season. You start to worry about making changes maybe 4 or 5 weeks into the year. That's my opinion, at least.
Absolutely. I mean, you want cohesiveness. It helps everybody else when you're all on the same page. You have to be on the same page when you're. So the more reps these guys can get together, it's fine. Yeah, Pugh would be nice as a depth piece, but I wouldn't put him in the starting lineup immediately. We're gonna have to roll with what we have, and go from there if it's not effective. But I think you got to start with the 5 guys you mentioned last night.
Yeah, you go with what you got. Maybe Azuda wins one of those jobs. I don't think he will. He hasn't looked really good in that first preseason game, at least to start the year. I think it'll be Bredesen and Glow at the guard spots. We obviously know the other 3. Those are going to be the starters going into the year, and we'll see how they play. Give them a few weeks. Give them 3-4 weeks. We'll see how they do. If you got to make changes, you make changes. Tommy, thank you. He says, you see, Joy Taylor said Barkley is more valuable than DJ, and her argument is team record when one is out. Fact is, Giants 9-13 without Barkley, 2-10 without DJ. I don't care. Listen, I love Barkley. You know that. Friggin' love him. I don't care what Joy Taylor says. I don't care what any of those talking heads on ESPN, Fox Sports say. Barkley is a better player, at least as of now, at his position than Jones. But he is not even close to as valuable as Daniel Jones, Tommy. And I'm the biggest Barkley fan in the world. Saquon Barkley didn't play. We had one of our best wins in the last 5 years when Barkley wasn't on the field, when Wayne Gallman ran it down the throat of the Seattle Seahawks. Daniel Jones, the New York Giants, are 0-7 in the last 7 games that he did not play for this franchise. And if anybody thinks that Tyrod Taylor is even close to Daniel Jones, go back and watch last week's preseason game. He is irreplaceable. If Daniel Jones gets hurt before the year starts, this team's winning 3 or 4 games this year. That's just the
not according to Shady McCoy, because another idiot talking head. Because according to him, Tyrod Taylor can do the same thing as Daniel Jones. And Joy Taylor's another idiot. They just, I don't know where the media, they just loaded up with idiots. This is what it is. It's what the media has become is eye candy and dumbass takes. That's really what it's become, which is good, because if you really want the real deal, the real scoop, the real fans' opinion of people that actually watch their team, and everybody's got their favorites, but you go to YouTube for your content creators or your favorite team, and that's what you do, because these people do not know. Chris mentioned it earlier. They don't watch the Giants. They look at the stat sheet. Oh, look at Barkley's numbers way up here. Look at Jones down there. Well, Barkley's more valuable.
Yeah.
No, Barkley, better talent at his position. Of course, Daniel Jones, more important.
It's not even close. It's not even close.
That's why the quarterback makes the money. Makes the money.
And good to see you. I went on her channel before, Met fan, lover. See, to me, this doesn't hold water. All things Mets talk. And this is my opinion on the matter with your comment. Then that's not a good team if you don't have a good backup quarterback. What teams in the league have a good backup quarterback? What teams in the league have a good backup? Maybe 5, 4, 5, 6. Tyrod Taylor's an above-average backup quarterback. He's an above-average backup quarterback when you look around the league. Yeah. There's not a lot of good quarterbacks. There's a reason that Daniel Jones, who probably the majority of the people listening to this podcast right now think he is at best the 15th best quarterback in the NFL, market indicates that he's worth $40 million. You know why? Because there's only about 15 to 18 guys that can play the position that he does relatively well at a starter's level. So almost every team in the league, if their quarterback gets hurt for a sustained period of time, I'm not talking about a 2-game thing like when Mahomes got hurt and they were able to, get it done for 2 weeks and get by. No, I'm talking about all year. If any team's quarterback, name me one team in the NFL outside of maybe the 49ers who have the best team in the entire league in terms of roster. Name me one team that if their starting quarterback got hurt day one is competing to win a Super Bowl. Name me one.
Maybe the Eagles.
Well, there you go. That speaks volumes about Jalen Hurts then.
Right. Well,
Maybe he's not as good as people make him out to be, if that's the case.
You know my feeling on Jalen Hurts. I think he's better than I thought he'd be, but people blowing smoke up this guy's ass like he threw 52 touchdowns last year, and I don't get it, but it is what it is. The Eagles have a very good team. Kansas City ain't winning without Pat Mahomes. Jacksonville would be a disaster without Trevor Lawrence.
Jacksonville's getting the first pick.
Maybe
not first pick, but top 5 pick.
You have to have just like an incredible roster to win with the backup. San Francisco had an incredible. They traded for the best running back in football, Christian McCaffrey. You got Deebo Samuel, you got George Kittle, you got Brandon Ayuk, you got a hellacious defense.
Yeah,
that's a really good team. And maybe Brock Purdy, maybe he's actually pretty good. They drafted. It's funny because they drafted him, Mr. Irrelevant, and he's had a better career than Trey Lance, so they drafted 3rd overall. Yeah. So you never know, but
you're not finding one, in my opinion. Maybe the Niners, they might be
backup for a reason. If they were going to have to start, somebody would pick him up and pay him to be a starter. Maybe Mariota. Mariota, like I think he might be. He's the Eagles' backup. He might be the best backup in the league.
And he's to me like not a guy you're going to win very many games with. You might win 4 or 5 games if you're not going to the playoffs with Marcus Mariota as your quarterback. You're just not.
You're not going to the Super Bowl. I can tell you.
No, you're definitely not going to the Super Bowl. Court, man, thank you very much, man. Have either of you decided on which live games that you'll attend the season? On Baddog channel, I said that I'm going to Dolphins, Raiders, and Saints. Court, man, thank you so much, man, for the incredible generosity, man. I really appreciate it. I know it's the most expensive one. Baddog and me talked about this, I think, last live stream or whatever it was. But I'm leaning the Jets game because that's the game my brother wants to go to. So that I'm going to go with him. So that's the game I'm leaning right now. That could change. But I'm definitely going to at least one. Might be going to 2. I'm leaning Jets. What'd you say?
I think all those games are away games.
They are. The Raiders are. They all are. So he's probably a guy that likes to go. He likes to travel, which is cool.
Yeah, a lot of good destinations. That's awesome. I'd love to go to Vegas. Shit.
Yeah, they are all road games. We have some of the we have the best road schedule this year in terms of destinations. We've talked about this. Arizona's another one. That's a good spot. Buffalo, in terms of just the atmosphere, great. We have a great road schedule this year from a travel standpoint. And he mentioned some of the highlights there: Miami, Vegas, New Orleans. I mean, come on, that was great, right?
Yeah, absolutely. New Orleans and Vegas are 2 of the best cities in the country, without question.
And Jax, thank you very much. He says Tibbs got held every play the second game versus Washington. Tibbs got held a lot. I don't like to make excuses. I think he's going to grow from that. I think he's going to get better from that, and I think he's going to get more respect around the league. But yes, he definitely got held a lot last year, and he will get better. He will learn to combat that, and I think he'll get more whistles as he grows as a player. I'm not worried about Tibbs. I think Tibbs has potential to be one of the better edge rushers in the National Football League. What's funny to me, Bad Dog, and I'm not comparing them as players at all, okay? At all. Okay, Micah Parsons, he's incredible. He's on another level. But what's funny to me is I see this a lot on Twitter, and I don't understand it. I see a lot of people say, Kayvon's too small. He's too small. I looked up Micah Parsons. Micah Parsons is 20 pounds lighter than Kayvon Thibodeau.
Yeah, Micah Parsons.
I was like, Kayvon's not too small, but it just seems like a lot of people seem to feel that way. Because I guess maybe he's not the traditional 265, 270-pound hand-in-the-dirt defensive end. But Kayvon's fine. He's fine in terms of big size.
I wouldn't worry about his size. It's not like he gets run over, tackled or whatever.
Ayub says, our cornerback room versus Dallas wide receiver room. Yeah, Dak going off. I mean, going into the game, Ayub, that's definitely my biggest concern. It should be yours. It should be everybody's in this chats from a defense. Your 2 biggest concerns going in that game, Bad, it's pretty obvious. Like, I'll do the game preview for you right now, okay? On defense, Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys are going to try to throw all over us. They're going to test us left and right on the outside. You've got Deonte Banks. You're probably going to be starting Trey Hawkins, or at least he's going to get some time. 2 guys who have never played in an NFL football game going up against very good wide receivers, CeeDee Lamb, Brandon Cooks. So they're going to test those guys. They're going to get pelleted with targets. And on the offensive side of the ball, obviously your biggest worry is Evan Neal. All you had to go back and watch the game against the Cowboys last year. They got a duo of pass rushers there with Tank Lawrence and, of course, Micah Parsons. That's the key to the game. We have to be able to give Daniel Jones some time to make some plays with his legs and his arm. So that's the key to the game. So, yeah, defensively, not just that game, the first 6-7 games.
Yeah.
My biggest worry from a defensive standpoint are our cornerbacks. I think we're pretty comfortable with the front seven, and I think we're hoping as Giants fans that front seven could get to the quarterback quickly and Wink could scheme up pressure because they're rookies. These guys are inexperienced corners going up against literally the best wide receivers in the National Football League. When you look at the list, I posted the list today on Twitter, Baddog. These wide receivers. It's like we're playing a Pro Bowler every week with these. Week one, Baddog. He brought up Dallas. Week one, we've got CeeDee Lamb, Brandon Cooks. We play them twice. Week 3, you got Ayuk and Debo. Christian McCaffrey should count as a receiver as well. Kittle. Then you got Metcalf and Lockett. Then you got Tyreek Hill and Waddle the very next week. The first 5 weeks, you play Lamb, Cooks, Ayuk, Debo, Kittle, McCaffrey, Metcalf, Lockett, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. And then you get a little bit of a bye week 6 when you get to play Stephon Diggs.
Right.
Week 7, who you play twice. Then you get Garrett Wilson week 8. Devontae Adams week 9. I mean, my God, they don't get a break, these rookie corners. So they're going to be put to the test. That's the biggest weakness of this defense going into the year. But they're going to get better because of it.
Yeah, well, the other thing is, I mean, how good was our secondary last year? Dak Prescott did not have a great game against the Giants. He had 2 interceptions in that game last year.
Yeah.
And that was with a beat-up Giants team. We led that game 13-7 at halftime, and they gave it up in the second half, but Dak didn't play well in that game.
Yeah.
So it's about getting pressure on Dak, but I mean, there's no question. These corners are going to get tested. It is what it is. Every team's got really good. That's why I say all the time, that's the other thing. People want to knock Daniel Jones and only 15 touchdowns. I like I said, I challenge somebody to find a worse wide receiving core than what he threw to last year. Because it seems like every team that succeeds has massive weapons in the receiving game.
Yeah.
Every one of
true.
them. So
I mean, look at our schedule this year, Baddog. Let's be real. Let's take a look at the Giants' schedule. I'm going to look at it. Let's see. And we made massive improvements with our weapons this year, by the way. Massive. But we still don't have great weapons. We still know that there's growing to do. But we added Darren Waller. We added Campbell. We added Hyatt. So we definitely improved our weapons in a big way, but that's how low we were before. Week 1, Dallas clearly has better weapons. We would agree, right?
Yes.
Week 2, Arizona. I would say our weapons are better than Arizona, especially after they lost Hopkins. That's one team. 49ers better weapons. Seattle better weapons. Miami better weapons. Buffalo better weapons. Washington better weapons in the passing game, I think. Dotson, McLaurin. Like, they got good weapons. Maybe you want to call it even? Is that fair? I'm
not getting the edge of Washington, honestly.
They got good receivers, man. The Jets got really good. The Jets got good receivers. The Raiders have maybe one of the top 3 receivers in football with Devontae Adams.
Yeah,
Dallas, Washington. I'm looking. There's only 2 teams on our schedule that I'm looking at, Bad Dog, that I could say for sure, in my opinion at least, we have better weapons, and that's Arizona and New England. Arizona, New England, and probably Green Bay. I will say Green Bay. I do think Christian Watson is very good. But I will go Arizona, New England, and Green Bay. Outside of that, there is not a clear team I could look at and say we have better weapons. And that's after significantly improving our weapons.
Mm-hmm.
So that just goes to show you how big of a liability it was last year and how big of a liability it still is. It's massively improved. We're going to continue to improve it, but it's far from a finished product.
Yeah, I mean, you can only do what you can do each and every year. We got so far behind the 8 ball, it's hard to get out from behind it. And Shane and Dable, Brandon Brown, they got to do what they can do. But I think the last 2 drafts, we don't know what this class is going to do, but we certainly saw impact. Unfortunately, every one of our draft picks got hurt at one time or another last year. But when they were in there, you saw pretty good impact. Wan'Dale had 100 yards receiving in 3 quarters before he tore his ACL. Thibodeau started off, with a bulky knee. And he might have only had 4 sacks, but he was a major difference in a lot of these games. Like I said, if you watch the games, you could see how much of a disruption he was. Felt like Cordell Flott had nice moments. Dane Belton had nice moments. Ozuna, it is what it is. He had the neck issue, and McKeithen never really saw the field. And then this year, so far, John Michael Schmitz looks great. Hawkins looks great. And Banks.
Yeah. Did you hear me, Bad Dog?
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay, I'm going to go to the crappy mic because that was starting to cut out. I'm getting a new wire this weekend. First thing I'm going to do on Saturday. But I do think our weapons are definitely improved, and I definitely think we have enough with our play caller and our quarterback I still think we have at least close to average weapons, probably slightly below average. We're just playing a schedule where teams are loaded with weapons. When you factor in Waller and Barkley, though, I think it's adequate weapons, but it's definitely not upper echelon. It's still not in the top third of the league. It's probably still not even league average. It's probably slightly below average. But from going where we were probably, if not the worst, the second or third worst in the entire league, like you said. Got better. Next year, it's only going to continue to grow. Jalen Hyatt could definitely mature as the year goes along. I do think we'll spend high draft capital on a wide receiver next year as well. Toasty says, if you don't think weather affects the game, watch the 07 New York NFC Championship game. The fact that Tynes kicked a 48-yarder in negative 23-degree weather and in Rady San Fran. I'll tell you one player, and we say it all the time, Bad Dog. One player it did not affect was Plaxico Burress from a statistical standpoint.
Definitely not.
I will fight anybody. The greatest individual performance I've ever seen a wide receiver have. Negative 23 degrees, 11 catches, 151 yards against an all-pro wide receiver in the NFC Championship game. He's the one player that did not. But yes, to your point, Toasty, it certainly does affect player statistics. But I could go on for that's one of my favorite games by an individual player of all time. Plaxico Burress.
When the wind, I can go back to 2007. Eli had a terrible game against Washington. It was a game that could have got us into the postseason. And we ended up losing to a pretty bad Washington team. And we had to go beat Buffalo the next week with Ahmad Bradshaw, the 77-yard touchdown run, or 87, whatever it was, in the snow. That was bad weather. We got down 14-0, came back and won the game. But Eli, had a horrible. He was like 18 out of 40 or something. Like there was like 40-mile-an-hour winds, so it's hard to throw in that, especially if you don't throw a tight spiral. And I love Eli, but let's face it, man, he didn't throw the tightest of spirals.
Yeah.
So, if you don't do a really tight spiral in the Northeast in the winter, the wind is going to play tricks with the footballs. But weather definitely plays a part, which is why, a lot of times you look at these teams in the NFC East or the AFC East and they're built on running. It's really what it is. So Tom Brady may be the exception, but most of them guys are smashing off football. And even Philadelphia, Hurts had a great year, but they led the league in rushing.
They ran the ball as much as anybody in the league last year.
They led the league in rushing.
Yeah. So, the weather definitely plays in terms of what your identity is. When people think Bears, they think defense. They think the linebackers. When people think Giants, they think defense. If you don't think their geographical location plays into why they constructed their teams the way in which they did, you're kidding yourselves. Chicago, the Windy City, as cold as it gets. New York, same thing, especially when they played at the Meadowlands. Windiest thing there is. There's a reason that the Chargers are high flying. The Dolphins are high flying. These dome teams are high flying because they play to their strengths in terms of the weather and the factors and everything else.
Yep, the Great Shore and Turf and the Rams, and they were in St. Louis. And they played in the dome. That's what it was. You built speed, So listen, at least the beginning of the year don't matter because, no, I don't want to go to Vegas, but at least our away games are in nice weather climates.
Yeah, for sure. Gowie says the hate for DJ is crazy. I did see Greg Jennings show him some love on First Things First for him. Had him at number 9. QB ahead at Dak. No one agreed with him. Yeah, Jennings, if you go back to last year, was actually very complimentary of Daniel Jones, even before his playoff performance against Minnesota. He's always liked him. I don't really care what the experts say. As I get older and older and older, I learned to I have my opinion. That's it. You don't like it. That's all right. I'm not going to go with what the masses say. I'm not going to go with what the Fox Sports and the ESPNs of the world tell me to think about a player. I made that mistake. I say it all the time. I'm guilty of it. When I first started on YouTube, my first draft, I wasn't on YouTube for the Saquon draft. My first draft was the Daniel Jones draft. I fell victim to it. I fell victim to the ESPNs, the Fox Sportses, telling me, ingraining in my head, dude, quarterback, you're crazy for drafting this guy 6th overall. As I've made more and more content, talked about more and more of the Giants, I'm going to give you my opinion. You're not always going to like it. You're not always going to agree with it, but you're going to get my opinion. I'm not going to let ESPN influence my opinion, Fox Sports, or anybody else. I don't care if ESPN thinks it's a joke that I think Daniel Jones will be a top 10 quarterback at the end of the year. Because guess what, Bad Dog? That's what I think. That's what I think for a ton of reasons. I could throw them out at you right now. I made a video on it. The top 5 reasons why Daniel Jones is going to be a top 10 quarterback this year.
And I can tell you that same thing
to say. I don't care.
Same thing with me. I don't give a shit what people say or think. It's my opinion, you know. And then people are like, oh, this age like milk, this age like whatever. I mean, anybody that says it, like, you can turn your camera on and make a YouTube channel, and let's see if every take. It's easy to do it when you're behind a keyboard. Oh, this sucked. I mean, you know, put yourself out there and let you be judged. If I cared what people thought about my opinion, I mean, I do one way or the other, but you're not going to change it because you're not going to, oh, he don't like my opinion, maybe I should change it. No, I change my opinion based on what I see. I give you my opinion based on what I see, and I can only give you what I think. I mean, everybody thinks things differently. Everybody sees things differently. So some people think Daniel Jones is a top 5 quarterback. I don't think he's going to be a top 5 quarterback. I said between 8 and 12. I definitely think that's possible. Last year, I didn't think he'd be between 8 and 12. I thought he'd have the best year in his career. I mean, I did see that.
Last year, man, if we're being real, he was a top 10 quarterback.
I think so.
I think he was. He was.
But yeah, I don't give a shit with these. I like to tear them apart. That's part of my charm. Yeah. Is my rants. It just is, and it, like I said, man, I just get sick of here. It's like, I understand last year the doubt. I had the doubt. I get that because, you know, he was going into another system. The 4th offensive coordinator, the 3rd freaking, you know, head coach, a 2nd GM. The team around him still wasn't very good. So it's like, I know that he has physical talent, but can he really lead the team? Can he really be that guy? And again, Shane and Dable thought the same thing, because if they said, when they went in there, they said, for sure, this is our guy. We know he can do it. Bang. We're picking up the 5th-year option. That way we only got to pay him $22 million in 2023, and we ain't got to worry about it. We can put the money somewhere else.
I want you to think about this, Baddog. I want you to think about this. I want the chat to think about this. What has been the thing about this Giants team that I think has been bad, very bad, in my opinion, has been how short of a leash they've had. But it's been a short leash for good reason. They fired Shermer after 2 years. They fired McAdoo after 2 years. They fired Judge after 2 years, right?
2 years too long.
2 years. Constant turnover. GM. We're on our 3rd GM in like 6 years, whatever it's been, right? Mm-hmm. Knowing that, Joe Shane knows that. Brian Dable knows that. They know that this team has had a short fuse, right? They know that Ben McAdoo won 11 games and the next year he was fired. They know that Joe Judge brought a lot of hope to this fan base and this organization and was kind of, at least slightly, the toast of the town because they kind of overachieved that first year. And he got out real quick. Knowing that, these two guys signed Daniel Jones to a $40 million a year contract. What more do you need to know? They know more about him than you do. I promise you that. They're in the building with him every single day. They had no reason to sign this guy. No reason other than seeing his performance, seeing how he operates from within the building. They didn't draft him. They inherited him. They didn't give him the commitment to the 5th year when they took over the job. They know if Daniel Jones fails, they could be out of a job. And I'm going to tell you what, Baddog, I'm going to trust Joe Shane and Brian Dable a lot more than Joy Taylor. A lot more than these
Shady McCoy.
Yeah, Shady McCoy. They're in the building, okay? Brian Dable has coached some of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, and Joe Shane in his first year showed that I think he knows what he's talking about. So that's my opinion on Daniel Jones. And I think he's only going to get better and better and better because I think he has the support system around him finally. And now he's entering year 2 of a system with a brilliant play caller in Brian Dable and Mike Kafka. That's my opinion on the matter, and it's why he's going to be a top 10 quarterback.
And they're building around him. And you see, they went after 3. Chris, when we were doing the draft, and I mean, 98% of the chat agreed, our 3 biggest needs were line, which we all wanted we all wanted JMS and got him in the second round. We would have been happy with him in the first round, but corner, wide receiver, lineman. First 3 picks, that's what we got. So, and we stole him. Okay, I don't know if we stole Banks. Banks might have went there. The fact that Forbes was the first corner off the board was kind of crazy that all those corners. Oh, no, he wasn't. I forgot the one kid that went early. Christian Gonzalez, I thought was going to go early. He went to the Pats later.
Oh, you're talking about the kid out of Penn State. The corner dropped.
God.
What's his name? Porter. Porter. I think.
Oh no, not Porter. There was another one. There was a guy that went early in the like really early.
The kid from Illinois.
Witherspoon. Witherspoon.
Witherspoon.
So he went really early, but I thought Christian Gonzalez was going to go right around the top 10. He fell all the way, I think, to 17. So the fact that we started thinking, hey, we can get him, and then Shane, they said we're not taking a chance. We're going to move up one spot. People are like, why the hell did you do that? Well, because you don't want somebody else to jump you and take Banks. So they do that. They stand pat in the second round. They get JMS. And then in the third round, they make their move and they say, you know what? We want Jalen Hyatt. We're going to go up there and get Jalen Hyatt. And, I mean, all things be told here, at the back end of the third round, we ended up with Darren Waller. That's really what that ended up being. So you look at the first 3 rounds, you get Banks, JMS, Hyatt, and Waller. Those are your 4 picks in the first 3 rounds. And then you go and get Eric Gray out of Oklahoma, who was a steal in the 5th round. So, and then you look at what Hawkins is doing, and you look at the way Riley played. I mean, again, you don't want to get too crazy about it.
Riley looks like he's at least going to be a nice depth. I'll tell you that right now.
That's what I'm saying. So these guys may pan out. That's where these guys make their money in those rounds. So they know what the hell they're doing. Like I believe in these guys. It was hard to believe in Dave Gettleman. I don't know if Gettleman ever really had a plan. Reese, towards the end of his tenure, just refused to address the needs of the Giants. And it's just like they took BPA every time. And I get that that's a strategy for some teams, but you can't draft on need alone. I get that. You don't want to reach for a player, but we didn't need Evan Ingram at all. You could have had TJ Watt in that draft.
Yeah.
Or was it that draft?
Or the dude. No, it was. And they the lineman that the Saints took too, they could have taken, who I liked. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he's a really good lineman. He's a guard. It was not a good pick. It was so for the needs that we had, it was not a good pick.
He did that a lot. He did that a lot, unfortunately.
Yeah. Terry says Carr and Winston with the Saints for a quarterback tandem. There's no such thing as a quarter. Oh, you're talking about a backup that could win? I mean, what has Winston ever won? What has Winston ever won? He's a good backup. Don't get it twisted. He's talented. But what has he ever won? He's never won anything.
I'll say this, though.
Yeah.
If Winston was really that good, I don't think they would have brought in Derek Carr.
That too. Yeah, exactly. They obviously don't
feel Derek Carr is a superstar. I mean, he's good.
Yeah. Winston's a good backup. Very good backup. But he's not a guy like if Carr gets hurt, you're not going to be like, oh, they're fine. Winston's going to step in. They're going to the playoffs. No, you're going to start to be like, all right, well, even if they sneak into the playoffs, they're not going to do much because they got Jameis Winston, who's a top
turnover machine.
Yeah, turnover machine. Kevin, thank you very much, man. He says week 8 seats are available, access to Corona Lounge and platinum parking pass. Hit me up, Chris. Wow, man. I'll definitely reach out to me on Twitter, man. I don't know if you have Twitter, but if you do, I try to follow everybody back. If I don't follow you, just at me and shoot me a message, man. Thanks, Kevin, man. I appreciate it, man. I definitely want to try to make that game. But Kevin, man, I appreciate it, man. Thank you, buddy. And Gowie says, Chris, actually saw a YouTube video that had a clip of you being upset DJ got drafted instead of Allen. Was video of how DJ was going to have a good year, etc. Yeah, I mean, there's clips of Baddog, there's clips of me, there's clips of every Giants fan known to man.
That reaction went viral. Millions of people saw a reaction. And I will say this again, and I'll say it every time, Chris. When the Giants win a Super Bowl with Daniel Jones, you will see that again in America's game.
Yeah. I mean,
there's no question. They will show the reaction. They'll have to bleep out a lot of it. But
I've said it all the time, Baddog. I want to look like the biggest fool in the history of the world. That was pure emotion. It was stupid. It was stupid, to be honest with you. I really, really, it taught me a lesson to cool down and don't let the ESPNs of the world influence your opinion. So yeah, it was stupid. It was a bad, it is what it is. In a way, I'm glad I did it because a lot of you guys probably wouldn't be on my channel. But that was my raw reaction at the time. So I'm not going to hide that. That's why you watch. That's why you make those reactions.
We weren't alone.
But I do regret letting the ESPNs of the world, the Fox Sports of the world influence me and impact me into going crazy about that pick. But
to be fair though, Chris, I said this, I didn't know anything about Daniel Jones. I didn't know Daniel Jones was on the Giants. I never watched Duke football. My reaction was, what the hell are they doing? Josh Allen fell to us. It's a guy both of us wanted in the worst way in that draft and didn't think he'd be fifth or sixth, to fall to sixth. And there was all that talk the day before. I'm like, there's no way. This is just smoke and mirrors. They're not considering Daniel Jones. And then when he got drafted, I was pissed for like 3 days.
Yeah.
And then I went back and I looked at the tape like Joe Judge. And again, I'm not a guy that sits here and analyzes tape. But once I went back and looked at it, I go, oh, actually, it doesn't look that bad. Yeah. And then everybody knows, see, like I said, I've been up and down with this guy like an EKG machine. I've been high, low, high, low, high, low. It is what it is because he's been like that. He's kind of been up, down, up, down, up, down. Shows flashes and then of brilliance and then shows flashes of incompetence. But, you know, I made all those videos. And everybody always says, oh, this aged like milk, this aged poorly. Nobody goes back to the video where I say, Daniel Jones would be better than Dwayne Haskins. Well, I got killed on that video. Oh, you're stupid. You don't know what the hell you're talking about. He's better than blah, blah. Or better than Sam Darnold. Said he'd be better than Mitch Trubisky. Sam Darnold said he'd be better than Dak Prescott. Now, that looked bad for a couple of years.
Don't look so bad.
A couple of years from now, it might not.
I don't think it looks so bad anymore.
Right.
I don't think it looks so bad anymore.
Like I said, I've been all over the gamut with Daniel Jones. What I can tell you is if he has a bad game, I will say played bad. But I will not give up on him as quickly as I did before.
He's earned a little bit of trust. He's earned a little bit of patience.
Yep. So I will if he plays shitty though.
You got to say, of course. When you analyze the game, you got to call him out.
Correct. So I don't. Oh, you hate Daniel Jones again. If Daniel Jones throws for 137 yards, no touchdowns, 3 picks, and we lose, and I say Daniel Jones played really bad, people go, "Oh, you hate Daniel Jones." I don't understand that. You gonna tell me he played good?
Yeah. I can't wait for the year to start. We know we're going to go through ups and downs. We know the pressure is going to be on Jones. I'm here to fight it. I'm going to give him his chance this year, and I'm looking forward to seeing him grow this year as a quarterback. I think he's going to have a great year.
He's a Pro Bowl quarterback this year.
I love it. I'm already going to tell you, Baddog, I already know the storyline week 1. I already know it. Because week 1, he's not going to put up great stats. You're playing the Dallas Cowboys. You got Evan Neal on the right side. You're not going to come out slinging the rock. So people are going to come out and be like, Jones, still a game manager. He's going to throw for like 195, 200 yards. They're going to try to play smart football because that's the right way to play that team with the deficiencies that we still have on this roster in the offensive line and their strengths with the pass rush. And they have really good boundary corners. That's not a team that you're going to look to go out and light them on fire in terms of throwing the football over the field. People are going to come out, he's a game manager, blah, blah, blah. Week 2, he's going to light it up. Nerf Swag, thank you very much, man. I see our wide receivers as 1s and 2s in terms of potential. I do not. I see. Well, I mean Waller. He's not a receiver though. He's a tight end, but he's our 1. Hyatt, I don't know. Hyatt's like a complete wild card. You know, I'm not gonna go crazy. It's still practice. He's still in shorts. We haven't got to see him with Daniel Jones in a real offense, so I don't know what he is. He could be a 4. He could be a 1. I don't know. Slayton, I think he's a 2/3. He's a 2/3 in a good probably a 3 in a really good wide receiving core, but he's a good receiver. I will say that. I disrespect the Slayton to a certain extent. I do think he is a good receiver. I think he can play in this league for a lot of teams. I will say that about Darius Slayton. I don't view him as more than maybe a slightly below average 2, very good 3 though. Campbell, I think, is a good 2. If he's healthy, I think he's a good 2 in terms of talent, but no more than that. I don't think he's a 1. I don't think we have a 1. I don't think we have one. I guess the one guy that you could argue could be a 1 just because of the unknown is Jalen Hyatt. But I don't think we have one on this team yet. But that's okay. We had so many holes in the boat, Bad Dog. You could only fill so many. Correct. We needed help with the linebacker. We needed help on the defensive line. We needed help in terms of getting weapons. We did that. We got Darren Waller. We got some pieces. And you couple that with the draft class this year, it was not the strength of the draft. It just wasn't the wide receiver position. And the free agency class, the highest paid free agent was Odell Beckham coming off a ACL tear. So it just was not the year to go balls to the wall in terms of trying to load up with the, high-end talent at the wide receiver because it just wasn't there. So
Right.
I think Shane looked at his surroundings and what he could do to improve this team, and he did the best he could at that position based off of the market with the draft and with free agency and everything else. Also, I got to mention Hodgins too. I think Hodgins could be a 2. I don't think he could be a 1. I don't think we have a 1 on this team yet, but that's okay. I think we're going to get our 1. I think we're going to get our 1 next year.
I do too. Somebody in the chat said it, and it's true. Like, somebody said, so weird. I didn't get the notification for this stream. It says it hasn't started yet. When I looked at my YouTube, it does. It says the stream is scheduled for 9 o'clock, but it doesn't show it started yet. Very weird. Like, if I type in your channel, like I go to my subscriptions, it just says scheduled, but it doesn't show that it started. So I don't know what the hell YouTube is doing. Well, if you go to your channel, it shows up. But like if I just go to my subscriptions, no, it even says, like if I go to your channel, it says upcoming, notify me. Yeah.
No, I guess people will wake up and they'll see. You know what happened when I went right before I went live? StreamYard said it let me go live, but it said I was like backed up with like storage space. So maybe that has something to do with it. I don't know.
Wow.
So I'll delete a bunch of stuff on StreamYard after, and maybe it'll populate in terms of the
unless somehow you set it for 9 Pacific time. I don't know.
Oh no, I don't think I did that.
No, I'm just saying he's right. It does show that just says upcoming. That's very weird.
Well, you guys, I appreciate all you guys.
People are here though, so they found it. But yeah, he's right.
Almost, we have, upper 5s. So we appreciate all you guys for being here. Fabian says, "What's up, guys? Can't wait for the season to start. You guys are the best. Who wins the division? No back-to-back winners since 2005." All right, I'm going to continue to say the Eagles because I want the pressure to be on the Eagles. That's the safe pick. That's the team that I think most people are going to pick, and rightfully so. They went to the Super Bowl last year. They have a lot of talent. So I am going to pick the Eagles. But I would be lying to you, Bad Dog, if in the back of my head, I'm not saying to myself,
we can win
the Eagles are due for a disappointing season. Because the last 2 or 3 years, everything is broken right for them in terms of injuries. Everybody stayed healthy. They played a softer schedule than we did last year. And they have an older, a couple of older pieces on that offensive line. I would be lying to you, Bad Dog, if in the back of my head it's not creeping. Could the Eagles not be quite as good as people think they're going to be going into this year? And it's the NFL, and it's filled with surprises. I'm picking the Eagles. It's the safe pick. I think you'd be a fool not to pick them before the year started if you were trying to be honest. But I would not be shocked if the Eagles are not as good as people think they're going to be.
How about we win it?
And the other thing I got to mention, Bad Dog, by the way, about the Eagles that I don't think a lot of people are taking into account.
Their uniforms suck.
New offensive coordinator and a new defensive coordinator. That's a factor. And a much tougher schedule. So that's all I'm going to say.
Why don't we win it, Giants fans? We haven't won this division since 2011, right?
Yeah.
Why don't we win it? Let's win the division.
Let's do it.
Screw Dallas. Let's beat their ass. Let's win it. Let's people, we took the world by storm last year, getting in the postseason. Let's shock the world again. Let's beat the teams in this division this year and say we're right up there with you guys. But,
I just want to.
Eagles are freaking good.
They are good. They are good, and I want the pressure to be square on them. They're very good.
The pressure is going to be on them.
Yeah, I think they're going.
Hurts just got that massive contract.
They underpaid him, by the way. They should have given him $100 million a year. I want all the pressure on Jalen Hurts, all of it. Give it to him.
Yeah,
people saying this guy's an MVP candidate. I expect him to throw 50 touchdowns this year. Go out there and ball out Jalen Hurts. Everybody's telling me you're the greatest quarterback who ever lived. I want you to have all the pressure in the world. I want the Eagles to have all the pressure in the world. Big Daddy says it was. Oh, he's talking about my reaction. Thank you, Big Daddy, man. I appreciate it. And Chris says, would you guys be in favor of the Giants signing Anthony Barr? Do you think he can play weak side linebacker in a wing system? Yeah, I'd be in favor of it. I think somebody has to sit at the top of the stream, Chris. Yeah, I'd be in favor of it for sure. I don't think he's a starting linebacker. I mean, if he maybe for the Giants, because we're not very good at that position outside of Bobby, Okereke. But I don't think he's a guy that I would view as a guy that I'd be comfortable as an every down starting linebacker. But for a depth guy, a veteran, yeah. And plus, like I said earlier, he's got some familiarity with our defensive line coach with his days with Minnesota. So I could see it. That may be some of the reason why he may want to come and play here. People seem to love him. He's got a great reputation, our D-line coach. So I don't know, Chris, maybe. But it's not a move that I think is going to like transform the New York Giants, but it would be a nice veteran depth piece. Sure. Why not?
No.
Gavin says 90% of our fan base hated the DJ pick. We were wrong, and more than 90%. More than 90%.
Yeah, it was a very small percentage that thought it was a good pick.
A lot of people, you get a lot of people that say, no, I always like the pick. No, you didn't. No, you didn't.
Eagle fans do that all the time. We knew Jalen Hurts was going to be good.
Maybe 5%.
Just be a man and admit you were wrong. Gives a shit.
Yeah.
There's worse things in the world than being wrong.
Yeah, of course.
Everybody is wrong.
Gowie says, no hate, Chris. Thought it was funny. Never saw your reaction before. Oh, no, I didn't think you were throwing hate at me at all. I was just telling you that, I was trying to just tell you how I feel about the reaction after the fact. But I know most of you guys enjoyed it because you guys, if you're being honest with yourselves, 95% of you guys felt the same way. I was just a guy on camera. So I think that's why you guys enjoyed it. But
the funny thing is, like, I have no idea what it. That's the only video, or it wasn't even my whole video. It's just a clip. Obviously, it's together. Like my clip, Chris's, and there's a couple other people in there. But I've never had a video go viral. So I don't know what the hell it takes to go. I don't think you can sit there and try to make a viral video. Videos have to catch on someplace. And then somebody else has to see it. And, oh, look at this. Oh, look at this. And then when you end up, on SI.com and you're the thumbnail like I was, the funny thing is our channel's got no credit for those. Nobody said this is Bad Dog Sports, this is Entertainer Talking Sports, and whoever else was in the video. Nobody said that's who these guys are, but there's a lot of people like, Bad Dog, I found you through the Daniel Jones reaction. And there was, like, told you, one time I went to the bank and the teller said, were you the guy? He goes, is that you that had the Daniel Jones reaction? I go, yeah.
Yeah, no, it definitely was crazy there for a bit with all the views we were garnishing. And like you said, you would go on Sports Illustrated, you would see our reactions there. And I'm sure if Daniel Jones ever becomes an incredible quarterback, we go to the Super Bowl. Like you always say, people see it.
See it again. Yeah. They'll show up Daniel Jones was drafted and you'll see, you dumb mother. Yeah. That's, and I'll be sitting there with my son. And he knows I do YouTube, so it doesn't really matter. I'll be like, oh, God, there it is again.
Well, you just mute the TV, put on earmuffs.
Yeah, I know what I said. I go.
Peter, man, good to see you, buddy. He says, I have a feeling that people with the extreme DJ hate takes know the argument is hanging by a thread. If we take care of Dallas handily, I predict those takes immediately crumble, and DJ Dable will be the talk of the town. I don't think they're ever going to crumble, Pete, because the goalposts will always move. We experienced this with Eli Manning. The goalposts will always move because you have people that are very stubborn. You have people that do not want to admit that they were wrong. They will constantly move the goalposts. They will make excuses to still question. The credit will go to Dable. The credit will go to Darren Waller. There will be people that make. Yeah, there will be less hate, obviously, if he starts to produce at a high rate, but there will always be hate and doubt out there for Daniel Jones, and that's okay. Bad Dog, at the end of the day, when you're hated, it's the same thing on YouTube. If you're a YouTube creator or if you're a podcast guy or if you're on Twitter, whatever, if you have trolls, if you have people who hate you, if you have people every time, I notice it every time, Bad Dog. On Twitter, I'll post a tweet, and I will have a group of about 5 people. When they disagree with a tweet of mine, they will come to it at the same exact time because they're in a group chat. And, Chris said something else dumb. Let's go and try to make them look bad. When you have that means you're doing something right. When people feel the need to go out of their way to try to discredit you, that's just life. You're gonna have haters when you're good. So the more hate that Daniel Jones gets, that's a good thing. You want Daniel Jones to get hate. That means he's improving as a quarterback. If he wasn't, does Baker Mayfield get any hate anymore? Not really. He's irrelevant. Does Sam Darnold really get any hate anymore? No, he's irrelevant. Daniel Jones getting hate because I think he always got some hate, but he's getting more hate now because people are starting to realize he's starting to get somewhat relevant. Let me knock him down a peg. I don't like him. That's the truth of the matter, Bad Dog.
Yeah, well, listen, they moved the goalpost last year, right? Daniel Jones only threw 15 touchdowns. Saquon Barkley did this and this and this. Well, Daniel Jones ripped up Minnesota, tore them apart at a great game, won a playoff game on the road. Oh, Minnesota sucks. Yeah, he should have done that. Their defense is terrible. Like, there it is. There's the shift in the goalpost right there. Can't give him credit It's not because he played well or that he's a good quarterback. It's that Minnesota sucks.
Yeah.
So they've already done it. I mean, yeah, everybody, and I mentioned that in I think the last video I did, which was actually 18 minutes long, because I just had a lot to say, but I'm pretty sure I mentioned people will skew stats. They will cherry pick whatever they can and go, oh, look at this. Oh, look at this. No matter which side of the fence you're on.
Yeah.
People do that all the time. Which, again, you can't just look at statistics.
The things that I heard going into the year last year was Daniel Jones never beat a good quarterback. He never beat a good quarterback. Well, last year he beat several good quarterbacks. He beat Aaron Rodgers. He beat Lamar Jackson. He beat who else? He beat Trevor Lawrence. He beat Justin Fields, who everybody seems to say is this great quarterback. So they changed it. Daniel Jones turns the ball over too much. He had the lowest interception percentage in the league. Well, now he's not throwing enough touchdowns. So we're going to move to that. This year he'll throw more touchdowns. They'll point to something else. That's just the matter. That's just the truth of the matter. The fact of the matter is this. Daniel Jones, the first year in an offensive scheme, took a team with arguably, in terms of an overall roster, a bottom 5 roster in the NFL. Bottom 5 roster in the NFL. We had the worst linebacking core. We had Fabian Moreau starting at cornerback all year for the most part. We had a wide receiving core where our best wide receiver was Isaiah Hodgins, who was dropped by the Bills, who didn't get here till week 10. We had Daniel Bellinger, who I like, but he was starting at tight end. How many great teams would he start in his rookie year at, right? We had a offensive line in shambles. He took that team to the playoffs, and he won a game on the road. And he had the lowest interception percentage in the league.
And his fumbles have decreased every year since he came into the league. His completion percentage has risen every year since he's run into the league. His interceptions have dropped every year since he's been in the league. So he's getting better. But again, the people in the media, for whatever reason, and I always say this, they love to point out that he only threw 15 touchdowns. And when people talk about Justin Fields, it's, oh, look at the athleticism. The guy can run. The guy can run. Look at Jalen Hurts, 13 touchdowns. I mean, 9 of them are 1-yard jobs. But, oh, he can run. Lamar Jackson can run. Everybody can run. Look at all this stuff. But somehow, Daniel Jones, who averaged almost 6 yards a carry and had over 700 yards and 7 rushing touchdowns, somehow that just doesn't matter. Like, that, just erase that. That's not part of his game. Just the 15 passing touchdowns. So let's not pay attention to the fact that the man ran for 700 yards and 7 touchdowns. And when other quarterbacks are doing that type of stuff, they always point out to how great of an athlete they are. Because Daniel Jones doesn't look like an athlete, I guess. I don't know. He's got that Eli. He's a way better athlete than Eli. But, Eli didn't look like an athlete.
He's not flashy. He doesn't have that.
Right, he's not flashy. He's just a guy.
Personality. I get it.
Right. So, you look at him, and if you looked at Daniel Jones, you didn't know Daniel Jones, and you looked at him and looked at Barkley. I mean, Daniel Jones is jacked. Well, let's face it, Barkley's on a nut. Trust me, I saw Barkley up close. The man is stupidly jacked. Okay, that guy's going to say, "Oh, he's the athlete." So maybe that's what it is. I don't know, but they just seem to disregard 700 rushing yards and 7 touchdowns. I don't understand. It's pretty damn good. It's pretty damn effective.
I can't wait till the season starts, and we'll see how it plays out. But I think he's going to be good this year.
Yes, because preseason we do all the talking, and in the regular season the Giants
they do the talking. None of our opinions matter once the season gets underway.
Correct.
And we'll see. We'll see who's right. We'll see who's wrong, and we'll see how this team performs. But I'm looking forward to seeing how it plays out. Toasty says Reese good with free agents, but couldn't draft. Reese was a good drafter his first 3 or 4 years with the Giants, and after that, he was abysmal.
Maybe the cap too.
I mean, at the end of the day, the Giants extended 2 players that were drafted between 2011 and from after the JPP draft. They extended 2 players that were his on multi-year extensions: Sterling Shepard and Odell Beckham. That's nearly impossible to only have that many players that were extended over that stretch. And Beckham was traded before he even hit the extension, and the GM that took over for him won the trade. The guy that we got is Dexter Lawrence. So, yeah, I mean, he was a horrible drafter. Very good at the beginning, first 3 or 4 years.
He's bad with the cap, though. He had no clue what to do with the cap.
And I wouldn't even necessarily say he was great. I mean, no, he was. Antrell Roll was a good pickup. Obviously, he had the one really good year in 2016 with free agents. He was a good. I got to give him credit. I mean, he definitely contributed to both Super Bowls. Even though I think, of course, he obviously was more responsible, especially for the first one. But He got a lot worse as he went along. from like 2011 on, he was really bad.
Yes.
Thigh Hercules says, Cannoli Crew, what do you guys do for we both work for the government, actually.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, we both work for the government. The Men in Black.
Correct.
Alpha Dog Pro says, I felt neutral about the pick, but when he had similarities to Eli, I fell in love with DJ as our quarterback. I don't think in terms of personality, maybe that must be what you're referring to, but in terms of a quarterback, I don't think in terms of the way he plays, I don't think he's very similar to Eli.
Eli was nowhere near as mobile or athletic as Daniel Jones.
No, but Eli probably had a bigger arm. I'll
yeah,
say
Eli
that.
had a very big arm.
Yeah. But yeah, different style of quarterbacks. But yeah, their personality, the way they handle the media, the way they handle New York. Yeah, definitely a lot of similarities in that aspect. Big Blue Elo says, what's with the concern on Kayvon? Yeah, somebody said that earlier. I haven't gotten a chance. I tried to find it. I don't know exactly what Wink said. I saw Kayvon's response. I don't have any concern with Kayvon. These are the types of stories that are, right now there's nothing to talk about. So any little thing that comes out is going to garnish headlines. To me, if I had to guess, I think it's very similar, like I said earlier, Bad Dog, with the way they handled Jones last year before the year started, where I think they're trying to, put a little pressure on Kayvon to see how he deals with adversity. I think it's tough love for Kayvon, if I had to guess. I don't think they're intentionally going out of the way to try to make Kayvon look bad. They're kind of giving him a little nudge. They're saying, let's go. We expect something out of you. You're one of the leaders on this football team. So I'm not going to read anything into that. Nothing. Come on. Irish Rover says, the Eagles have a great roster, but I agree with Chris. It's time for them to have a tough season. I think we go 10-7, Eagles go 9-8, and we take the division. We have to believe in our team, Giants. I won't do that, because at the end of the day, if I do that, and I look like a fool, but I will say, yeah, I'm picking the Eagles. The Eagles are definitely the best team in this division, but I just think they're due. I think they're due to have a disappointing year. But a disappointing year for them would probably be 11 wins and still winning the division. But I don't think they're going to be as good as they were last year. That's my opinion on the Eagles going into the year. I just think they've had too much luck the last couple of years. They've stayed almost completely healthy at the main positions. Their offensive line, which was completely dinged up like 3 or 4 years ago, has stayed completely healthy the last few years. Their key players have stayed. They got older corners. I don't know, Bad Dog. I just feel like they're due to have a little bit of a more
Step
towards a little bit of a setback. Yeah.
I'm with it.
Gavin says, I can't wait for the regular season so we can put these offseason storylines to bed when we destroy Dallas week 1. DJ had 4 touchdowns. We blow them out.
That'd be the best thing ever happened.
3-2. I just win 3. You win 3-2. I don't care. Just win. But I would be nice if DJ threw 4 touchdowns, but just win the game.
Amazing. Yeah. Just beat Dallas. I don't care about the final score, but that would be great to blow them out and have Daniel Jones have a big, because I'd love to actually go and listen to the media the next day.
Yeah. Just win. Matter of fact, I got to find what Wink said because everybody's talking about this. Let me get the exact.
Let me run that about you real quick. I'll be right back.
Let me get the exact quote of what he had to say. Giants Wink Martindale challenge. Okay, this is in the Daily News. Of course, Pat Leonard wrote about it. I wish I could actually see him say it and not read the quotes because a lot of times quotes can be taken out of context. But let me share it with the chat. So this is what he had to say. That's the wrong one. I'm sorry. Hold on. I got to unshare that one. Stop screen, present, share. There we go. So this is what he had to say. I expect him to be at the top of everything, and so do we. Okay, so right off the bat, he's praising him. He's saying I have a lot of confidence in him. I think he's going to be great. That's essentially what he's saying there if you read between the lines. I expect him to be at the top of everything, and so do we. Martindale said, I've talked to him about his practice. I think that he heard me clearly. So he's basically saying, practice harder. That's basically what he's saying there. I thought that in Detroit on Tuesday and Wednesday, I think he caused 2 fumbles and recovered 2 fumbles. I guess when talking about improving, Martindale said, I expect him to be at the top of everything, and so do we. I've talked to him about his practice. I think that he heard me loud. Oh, I just read that. So Kayvon is going to be fine, first of all, Martindale added. Like I said, he caused 2 fumbles and he recovered 2 fumbles in the 2 days. He had like 8 takeaways against what were the Lions' top 5 offense last year. It gave us confidence in ourselves and the way we competed there. I don't even see where he said anything bad. No, I do. I keep it real with everybody on where they're at and why they're here, because the last thing I want as a coach is for a player to drive in the parking lot and not know where they stand, especially this time of year, Martindale said, because I think we build our relationship, we build our foundation on trust and honesty. I tell them what I think and where they stand and where the competition is, where the line is. Martindale continued. I talk about all that. So like I said, we had a great week in Detroit, and I'm excited to take the next step. Thibodeau was expected to speak to the media on Wednesday, which he did. So I guess he said that he wanted him to practice harder, essentially. That's what I take out of that. And then he came out and said that he did. There's nothing to talk about right now, Bad Dog. People are blowing this stuff way out of proportion, man. Way out of proportion, man. It is what it is. Peter says Lamar, freak athlete, Hurts, freak athlete, Fields, freak athlete, Kyler, freak athlete, DJ, sneaky athlete. That's how it's portrayed, yeah.
Yes, it's like a sleeper physique.
Yeah.
I guess, I don't know.
I
Has that too.
do. I get that though, because when you watch DJ, he doesn't have the elusiveness of those guys that you just mentioned, like Kyle Fields, Kyler.
I don't know if Hurts so much has elusiveness.
Yeah, that's true. Hurts is.
I feel like Hurts is runs kind of like Daniel Jones does. They can run, like they're mobile. They can escape the pocket. They're faster than they look, but like they're not. Like Kyler Murray is ridiculously fast, as is Justin Fields. Like those guys are just.
He better be fast.
You
see how big that guy is? Like 5'2". He better be
Murray. Yeah, I mean, Kyler don't work hard. I mean, that's his problem, man. It's always been his issue. You know, if Kyler Murray actually went in and studied film and practiced hard and did the things Daniel Jones did, he'd be a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. That guy's got all the skill in the world.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Height, but the man can do everything with a football, and he's probably one of the fastest. He is one of the fastest quarterbacks in the league. But if you don't put in the work, you're not going to succeed. I don't give a shit what you do. It's anything in life. You got to work. You want to be successful, you got to work. Nobody's going to go there and hand it to Kyler Murray because he's an athlete.
Why was Tom Brady so successful? It wasn't because he was the best athlete. That's for damn sure. It's because the work he put in. I mean, the guy used to hang out in the special teams meetings. Like, I mean, come on. Naruto, thank you very much, man. Just tuning in, so you might have covered this. How many points per game do you think we're going to average? Joe said 13 plays and field goals isn't ideal. 11 wins. I mean, it's not I think there's situations where long drives are ideal, but not nearly as much as we had to rely on it last year for obvious reasons. There's so much that could go wrong when you have to do that as much as we did, but that was the only way that we could move the football was 13, 15, 17 play drives because of our lack of explosiveness at the playmaker position, our questionable offensive line, so on and so forth. But I do think there are times and teams that you're going up against where you want to be able to grind the clock and have long drives. But as far as the points per game we're going to average, last year we averaged 21. I think we'll average 24, 25. I think we're going to be in the mid-20s. I think 24, 25. Last year, I think there was only one team that averaged 30. Now, the points may be up this year in the NFL, but I definitely think you're going to see a jump in the point. I've said I think we're going to be a top 10 scoring offense this year. Last year, we were 15th. So I think we're going to improve. So if I think we're going to improve, I think we're going to be in right around that in the top 10 in points per game this year.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to be scoring 28 a game, but I think 24, 25. I think we definitely improved by 3 points. Your red zone. I mean, the Giants that was one thing that they were good at was in the red zone. They were very effective in there, which is something that's plagued us for many years, the inability to finish with touchdowns. The problem was getting there. Half the time. So, but you look at, I mean, I don't know what their touchdown percentage was offhand inside the red zone, but you look at guys like Darren Waller, and that kid, because Daniel Bellinger was very effective in the red zone. So you added Darren Waller to that. I mean, the Giants, and then you got your shifty slot receivers, and you got a burner and Jalen Hyatt. And of course, you got Barkley and you got Daniel Jones that can run. There's a lot of things that a defense has to concern itself with inside the 20s. So I do think the Giants can score more points per game. I also think you're going to have bigger plays down the field this year, which will lead to some quicker scores. Maybe not touchdowns, but you might have a 5-play drive, where you have 2nd and 7, then you hit a 45-yard bomb and maybe you have to set up for a field goal.
Right.
But I think 24, between 24 and 25 points a game is out of the question.
No, yeah, that's what I expect. I think we're going to be in the mid-20s. I mean, obviously I hope more, but that's asking a lot. Mid-20s is good. I mean, if you look at, let me pull it up real quick. Last year, points per game in the NFL, 25 would probably rank, if I had to guess, top 7 or 8 last year. And like I said, last year points were down across the league. There was more running. So yeah, last year, here's the list. Last year, I don't know why that came up. No thanks. Last year, points per game, you had nobody average 30. Chiefs led the league at 29.2. Philadelphia with 29. Bills 27, 26, 26, 25. 25 put you right in that 6, 7, 8 area. And we were 18th, but we were kind of tied with everybody there, right? 21.5, 21.4, 21.2, 21.2. So, yeah, I think we're going to be right in that 20. We're going to be right here, Baddog. I think we're going to be right like at that 25 area. That's where I think we'll be. Will that be 8th this year? I don't know. Points probably go up. You know, there's different trends throughout the league. But, yeah, I think we're going to be a better offense this year. I think we're explosive.
Oh, can you bring that back up real quick?
Oh, yeah.
Can you bring that back up real quick? I just want to.
Yeah.
I just want to see the last 3. Oh, we were 8-16. I was just curious because it felt like they opened it up, but of course the last game against the Eagles, they didn't play their starters, so they only had 7 points, as you see there. So
I think the last 3 also includes the playoff game against the Eagles. Maybe I don't know because we put up a lot of points against the Colts. We put up a lot of points.
You can see the last one was 7, like the column next to it. So we only scored 7 points that last game against Philadelphia.
Yeah. Because when you look on NFL football reference, because I think this might include the playoffs, because when you go on football reference, I'm pretty sure we were 15th in points, if I'm not mistaken. Let me take a quick look. Let's see if I'm right on that. Last year, the Giants were...
It's right at the top, I think, Chris. I think it's at the top.
Oh, no, this is Encyclopedia. This isn't for...
Oh, normally it shows it, though. Normally it shows what your...
That's the wrong one. There it is.
Oh, there it is.
I'm sorry, 17th. No, it's defense. 15th. We're 15th in points last year. 18th in yards, 15th in points, according to Pro Football Reference. So, I mean, to me, this is why I think we're going to put a decent amount of more points. Obviously, I think the offense is just going to be better in general. But I think the offense is also going to have a lot more opportunities because last year we only created 6 interceptions all year. Like that.
And we couldn't stop the run either, which
couldn't stop the run. We gave up 5.2 yards per carry, which ranked 31st. We had 6 interceptions, which ranked 31st. We gave up the 30th most first. We were 30th in terms of first downs against. Like our defense was not good last year, and obviously there were injuries. So I think the defense will be better. We should create more turnovers. I can't imagine we won't. So you got to figure shorter field position, better opportunities to score. So I think 25, even maybe 26 is a possibility. But I think mid-20s. That's where my head's at for the Giants this year in terms of offense. Do you think we can win a shootout this season? Yes. I don't think it's ideally how we want to play. But, yeah, I think we'll be more capable of winning a shootout. Let's put it that way. I mean, we won a shootout last year. The Vikings playoff game was a shootout.
Yep.
You know, it was. But it's not – I don't think it's – when we're going up against high firepower like the Eagles, for example, it's probably not the best approach. You probably want to grind it out a bit. When you're going up against Buffalo, you probably don't want to get into a shootout. You want to try to, slow it down a little bit at least when you're going up against a team like that. But yeah, I definitely think we're capable of winning shootouts for sure. I mean, we got weapons. It's not like we're weaponless this year. Daniel Jones is a good quarterback. We got a great play caller. Big Mood, thank you so much for the $5 super sticker. I appreciate it. Let's see. What player will be the biggest surprise this year, both good and bad? I'll let you go with that one, Baddog.
Biggest surprise that's good. I think. I think both of us like Cordell Flott. As far as like being a good surprise this year. Yeah, it's tough because like we didn't have a lot of great players last year. There's a lot of different players in the team. I think Jones will have a good year. I don't think that's going to surprise anybody. I think that
people it wouldn't surprise Giant fans. Most
right. Well, true. Barkley, obviously, that's not going to surprise anybody if he has a good year. We expect Waller to have a really good. Andrew Thomas is rock solid. I could see Leonard Williams not have. I feel like Leonard's getting older. He's been dealing with some injuries, and we are deeper on the line, which should help him. But maybe he gets more time off. Maybe he doesn't have the same impact that you would think. Mm-hmm. That'd be a surprise. Because I'm not looking at guys like, Carter Coughlin's got a better, because that's not going to surprise anybody either. Right. I think that's what I would say. I think, or maybe Pinnock. He's looked amazing. and
Yeah.
nobody really talking about him going into camp. But I'll say Flott, and I'll say Leonard Williams.
Flott is a good surprise for you. You like Flott as a good
Flott's
surprise?
a good surprise for me.
I will go. I actually like Leonard Williams a lot this year. I don't know how much that would constitute as a surprise, though. But I do feel like people are forgetting about Leo a little bit because he's older, because they know he's not part of the long-term vision of this football team. He's probably not going to be here after this year. But I actually think Leo's going to have a big year, just because of the improvements around him. The depth on the D-line, the fact that he's in a contract year, plays next to Dex. If he can stay healthy, I actually like Leo a lot this year. But I don't know if that constitutes as a surprise. A surprise for me this year in a bad way. It's all relative. If you have super high expectations for Deonte Banks this year, you're gonna be surprised in a bad way. I love him as a player, but he's a rookie and he's going up against some of the best wide receivers in the NFL. I don't have those expectations though, and I don't think most fans should have those expectations, so I won't say him. In a bad way. Who's gonna have a bad year, Bad Dog?
I mean, that's tough.
Yeah, because
Afghanistan. Yeah, I see Afghanistan's coming. Yeah, but I wasn't saying that. We can't.
You can't say any of the wide receivers because you don't know which one's going to be the featured guy. We don't have like a definitive one going into the year outside of Waller. Waller could definitely, if you don't think he's going to live up to it, I guess could be a guy that could potentially be a disappointment, but I don't think he will. I think he's going to be good.
I mean, that's the thing. It's got to be a surprise. Like,
yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Leonard Williams, it would be a surprise.
Yeah, but I think it's gonna be good. I'll say it. I don't want to say it because I love Carl Banks. I love Carl Banks, and I pray he's right because he would be so much to this defense, and I think he's a really good player. I'm gonna say Aziz. I think some people are setting Aziz up a little too high right now. I think he's a good player. I worry about some health concerns. If I got to pick somebody, I'm not guaranteeing this. I could definitely see he's going out there and having 10 sacks this year. Last year I was very strong when we were asked this question before the year started. I came out right away. Kadarius Toney. I don't feel that way about really anybody on this roster this year. That I feel like they're going to really disappoint. But I'll say Aziz. I'm not like super strong in that opinion though. And then in terms of who will surprise in a good way. I mean, it's all been talked about. Like I've said Paris Campbell, but would he be a surprise at this point? I think most Giant fans are fans of his. Would Evan Neal constitute as a surprise? If he's an average right tackle this year, that's a huge jump. I think he's going to do that. I don't know. I will go. I'll go with Paris Campbell. Because I think some people may not feel Paris Campbell is going to be as good as I think he's going to be. I think if Paris Campbell plays all year, he's going to be right around 1,000 yards, and I think he's going to lead the receivers in catches. I'm a big fan of Campbell in this offense. So if you don't think he's capable of doing that, that's a surprise to you. I think he's going to do it. I think he's going to hover between 900 to 1,000 yards if he plays 17 games, and he's going to have between 5 and 7 touchdowns, and he'll lead this team in receptions at the wide receiver position. So there's my surprise in a good way. I don't know how much that constitutes as a surprise to some, but I'm a fan of Campbell if he can stay healthy. Beavers, I like it. Beavers, I like it.
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be freaking awesome. I love Beavers, so I'm hoping he gets a chance.
You want to see Hyatt being used like D-Jax? I don't think he's going to be as featured. Slayton's a good one, Joe. He is. I wouldn't be shocked if Slayton has a big year. I really wouldn't.
He's just got to clean up the drops. Slayton had a resurgence, but it would have been even better if he dropped 15% of the passes on him. Like it's just too many drops. Like he's got to. He's talented enough. He's got to finish he's got that Evan Ingram thing going on. You know what I mean? Where there's a world of talent there. He's just a little bit more concentrated. I think Slayton definitely could be a guy that has a big season because everybody's going to be looking at the other. You're going to be looking at John Waller. You're going to be looking at
he's never had this help around.
Correct. You're looking at Isaiah Hodgins. I mean, he is definitely a guy that could fly under the radar and have a nice, like he did his rookie season where he has 800 yards and 8 touchdowns or whatever. Definitely has that capability. Like I said, he's just got to finish.
You know what? The chat's going to hate me for saying this. I'm going to, because I actually think Aziz is going to have a good year. The chat's going to hate me for saying this because he's so popular. I hope I'm wrong, guys. I was right last year when I said Kadarius Toney. And I definitely think he could be really good. I just think this wide receiving core is going to be so different week to week with some of the additions that we've made. I think fans are hyping up Isaiah Hodgins a little too much. I think Isaiah Hodgins, he's my pick for disappointment this year. I could see him. I could be complete. I hope I have egg on my face. I hope he has 1,000 yards and 9 touchdowns. I could see him being a guy that kind of, he like 1 week. I don't know. I could see him being a 500 or 600 yard wide receiver this year. I hope I'm wrong. I hope he has a great year. I hope they all have great years. But that wide receiving core is just so deep that somebody's going to disappoint for what you believe if these guys stay healthy. I know the chat's going to hate me for that because I know he's so popular with the fans. I'm going to go with Isaiah Hodgins. He's going to be my disappointing Giant this year. And I pray to God I'm wrong because I love him. I'm a big fan of his. Big Moose says, we have a lot of guys playing on one-year contracts. Yeah, I mean, that was by design. I think the Giants saw a lot of players in this free agency period as stopgaps. They didn't see high-end wide receivers, guys with injury problems. Let's get him for cheap. Let's get Campbell as a stopgap. We'll replace him in the draft next year, whatever it may be. So that was by design. That was the right approach. You never, we say it all the time, Baddog, you never want to build long-term through free agency. It's the stupidest thing you could do. You pay top dollar. So that's the right way to do it. We're not used to it as Giants fans, but that's the right way to do it. Let's see. Hodges was on a practice squad. I mean, listen, you can say that about Victor Cruz, though, and Victor Cruz is one of the greatest Giant wide receivers of all time. So there's Marcus Colston. There's another example. He went to Hofstra. I think he went undrafted. He was a very good wide receiver for the Saints for years. So that doesn't always necessarily mean anything. Hodgins could turn out to be really good, and he was really good for this team last year. He was our best receiver the last 6-7 games of the year. He just was. Caught 4 touchdowns in a 5-game stretch. But I'm going to pick him. I could definitely have egg on my face because I definitely could see him having a good year. It's so one of those receivers are going to disappoint though, Baddog. They just are.
They have to because there's not enough football to go around.
Yeah. So. And I could almost see all of them disappointing because what we've talked about in the past, where week to week, based off opponent, one wide receiver is going to be featured a lot, and then the next week he may not be featured at all, because they don't have any alphas on this team other than a Darren Waller, who I think will be heavily featured every week. So I think it's very hard to predict what these wide receivers are going to do for this team this year. I think a lot of it's going to be based on opponent.
Agreed.
Colston was Mr. Irrelevant. Okay, so he might as well have been undrafted. Let's see. Tane, I can agree, but I think people are hyping up the Jalen Hyatts and the Darren Wallers. See, for me, Zany, and yeah, I agree. People are hyping up. I don't think Darren Waller is unjustified. The only question for me with Darren Waller is, can he stay healthy? If Darren Waller stays healthy, I think the hype is justified. He's one of the top 3 tight ends in the NFL in terms of a pass-catching threat. He's obviously he's not George Kittle. He's not a well-rounded blocker, but in terms of a pass-catching threat, he's one of the 3 best tight ends in the league. So I don't think that's unjustified. But Baddog, can you really call any rookie that was drafted in the 3rd round as being the biggest disappointment on a football team? Going into
the reason to go in the 3rd round, so no.
Yeah, like if you're being a rational fan going into and I know we're all excited, we love the speed, and he could be incredible this year. But I think most fans that are rational going into the year are not going into the year thinking that Jalen Hyatt is going to catch for 1,000 yards and have 9 or 10 touchdowns.
I think what would be disappointing about Hyatt is if he didn't get any big plays. If he didn't show any explosiveness. He had a season where he has 38 catches and 320 yards and doesn't score. I think that'd be a disappointment. But yeah, I don't expect he could, but I don't expect Jalen Hyatt to come in here and put up over 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns his rookie season. Now, is it possible? Of course, because Darius Slayton almost did that his rookie season, and he was round. We got him, so you never know.
No, he could. And you can't predict, here's what I'll say. If Jalen Hyatt, at least in my opinion, and I hope I'm wrong, I hope he's the best wide receiver in the NFL this year. But if Jalen Hyatt has a very good statistical season, in my opinion, this team had a lot of injuries. So that's not a good thing. In my opinion, if Jalen Hyatt is heavily featured in this offense on a week-to-week basis, it means that, Darius Slayton got hurt. Paris Campbell got hurt.
Or he really impressed.
Or he really takes off. And I hope that's the case. But I don't expect him to have a huge role at least to start the year. Second half, different story. But to start the year, he's going to have a role. He'll get some targets here and there, but I don't expect him to be the most featured wide receiver over the first half of the season. I think he's fourth on the chart, and maybe even fifth if Wan'Dell's playing. But I don't think they're going to rush Wan'Dell back.
No, I don't think so either. You got enough wide receivers. I don't think you need to rush him back. Let him get healthy, and we work with him from there.
But I do think that he will take over Hyatt as a more featured wide receiver as the year progresses. Maybe by the last 6 or 7 games, suddenly he's the Slayton role. Like right now, we're going into the year expecting Slayton to be the primary guy on the outside. Maybe that's what Hyatt takes over the last 5 or 6 games. So I could definitely see that. I just don't think he's going to hit the ground running like some people may think.
Right.
Slink, what's going on, man? He says, I think Hyatt is getting hyped because the wide receiver core has been non-existent. Everyone has PTSD from Galladay, $72 million. A lot of people may look at Neal as a make or break year. I mean, he's a fun player too, Slink. I mean, let's be real. He's a fun player. The guy's fast as hell. And I think his fans were not used to having a wide receiver that is that dynamic in terms of just his natural athletic ability. So I get it. I'm excited, man. I can't wait to see Hyatt, but I'm also going to keep my expectations realistic.
Right.
So he may be great, but I'm not going to go into the year expecting that.
Right. I think that's it. You don't go in expecting it, but he's capable. He definitely has a capability. He definitely has the potential. But I don't expect him to come in and be a number one receiver right away. It'd be great if he did, but I'm not expecting that. If he doesn't do that, I'm not gonna be like, oh, that was a bust. I mean, he's picked 71st overall, so he obviously has to work on some stuff. But that speed, man, that's exciting. And there's no question about that. That's very exciting.
Yeah, no, it definitely adds an element to this offense that we didn't have before. Like Darius Slayton is fast. He's not like that.
He's fast. He's not explosive. I mean, that's the difference. There's fast speed, there's track runner speed, and then there's jetpack up your ass speed, and that's what Hyatt has, man. So
he's got that Deshaun Jackson speed. That's what he's got. When you saw D-Jackson's first year with the Eagles, your jaw dropped. When you're like, well, we got to deal with this guy for the next 10 years. He's got that kind of speed. Is he that kind of receiver? That's another story. But he's got that kind of speed.
Yep.
Who's on the depth chart for returning kicks and punts? Right now, it looks like the favorite's going to be Gray, the rookie, the running back. He's been at least in terms of returning kicks, he's been getting the. Did he return? I don't remember. Was he returning punts in the last game too? I don't remember. I can look it up.
I definitely know that he returned kicks. I don't know if he ever did return punts or not.
Let me see. I'm curious. I'll tell you right now who returned punts. I know he was returning the kicks. Let's see. Punt returns last week. Punt kick. Here we go. Punt returns. Yep, he did both. We returned 2 punts. He returned both of them. He had 8 yards on 2 punts and 62 yards on 3 kick returns. So yeah, so far it's been great. He got featured in both roles. So you have to figure that means Crowder's in trouble because I think that's his chance to make this team. If Gray's going to be the punt returner, which at least after the first preseason game, we'll see if they give somebody else a different look in the second game. But that probably not good news for Jamison Crowder trying to compete on the back end of the wide receivers.
Yeah, definitely not.
Let's see. Galladay's and Kadarius Toney sucked, but didn't quit like Tony. I agree with that. Let's see. What's up? Stanley says, hey, Beto and Chris, who do you all think the Arizona Cardinals will be? Do you think the Arizona Cardinals will be the worst team in the NFL this year? I mean, among, I don't know, because Murray's missing the majority of the year. So, new coach, among. That's crazy, man. That's crazy. I'm not looking at Kyler Murray's contract, but Kyler Murray might be out of a job after this year. He might be out of a job.
He probably should have went to. Well, he could always go to baseball.
Well, I mean, somebody's going to give him a job, but with Arizona, let me look at Kyler Murray's contract because I know that contract is insane. I remember they backloaded it. Kyler Murray's contract is after this year, he has oh my God. You know what his dead hit is after this year? Holy shit.
No.
Let me show you.
I'm sure you're going to tell me.
Oh my God.
Is it that bad?
This makes the Dak contract look like a bargain.
Oh, geez.
Look at Kyler Murray's contract. Next year, he has a $51 million hit, $81 million to cut him. The
Well, they're not
following
cutting him.
45 million, 33 to cut him. 56 million, 20 to cut him.
You'd probably get rid of him there. You'd be saving 36 million against the cap.
Yeah. But you're committed to him financially through 2025.
Definitely.
Oh my God.
I guess Tyler did pick the right profession because
Wow. Arizona's in an interesting spot though, because if they're the worst team in the NFL this year, dude, how do you pass on Caleb Murray? I don't know. So they're in an interesting spot this year if they end up with the first pick. I don't know what they're going to do.
Yeah, that's tough.
Tyler's not going to have a trade market with that contract coming off an injury.
No, definitely.
I mean, you'll be able to get something for him, but you're not. That'd be interesting at the end of the year. No, yeah, I'm thinking Kyler Murray. You guys know who I meant. But it's a really strong quarterback class, so we'll see.
It is. Yeah, Kyler, they're stuck with him. I don't think anyone's taking on that contract, but you never know. You never know.
Somebody might. People are desperate, but he's also a guy that's kind of like dependent upon scheme too.
Kyler?
Yeah, I feel like you kind of have to mold your offense around a guy like Kyler Murray. So I don't know how many teams would be running. Somebody would for sure. There's teams always looking for quarterbacks, but with his contract, I don't think they'd get a ton for him. Especially coming off an injury.
No, hell no.
Yeah. Who will be the team MVP this year? We're going to end this in like 2 minutes. I just want to answer a couple more of your guys' questions. It's Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones is the most valuable player in this team. For what we said earlier. I mean, the team, if he goes, be honest with yourself. I mean, outside of maybe Andrew Thomas, I think you can make a legitimate argument. If Andrew Thomas got hurt, it could maybe be just because of how bad our other tackles are. It could legitimately maybe influence wins and losses as much as if Daniel Jones got hurt. You could at least make that argument. But outside of Andrew Thomas, I don't think there's a player you could argue that affects wins and losses more for this team than Daniel Jones.
Right.
There's not an argument, in my opinion. So it's either Jones or Thomas. I think those are the only two credible answers. Because if Thomas got hurt, you're starting Evan Neal on the left side and you're starting God knows who on the right. So I don't want to experience that.
Think about that, please.
Yeah. But guys,
that'd be rough.
Yeah. But guys, we are going to close it out. Appreciate it. We're going to be live tomorrow on Bad Dogs channel. We'll be doing the game over there.
Yes.
Appreciate all you guys. You guys are the best. Game starts at 7.
Yep. So 6:45.
6:45 preseason. Yeah, we'll go live 6:45. Let me get Lum. He says, what audio software do you all use for videos? I just use StreamYard to record videos. That's what I use. It
depends. I use StreamYard sometimes. I use OBS sometimes, or Move of A. I guess it's not StreamYard. It's Move of A sometimes.
Yeah, there you go. But yeah, is there? Let me ask you this, Bad Dog. Outside of those two, who's the most valuable player on the Giants? Outside of Andrew Thomas and Daniel Jones, like in terms of who affects wins and losses the most, you think it's Barkley?
Yeah. Well. Yeah, I know we have like that one guy on defense that's like a real. I mean, like I love Dex, but if he goes down, does that really affect the? I mean, the defense is one of the worst in the league last year anyway. I think Barkley's it. I mean, there's no question that we have to run the damn ball.
Yeah.
And Barkley definitely, the defense has to concentrate on stopping Saquon, which opens it up for the players. So yeah, I mean, definitely, I think.
Yeah, for me. I think I would lean Saquon or Waller. I think those would be because, like you said, if Dex is so important, but if Dex gets hurt, it definitely hurts the defense in a huge way. But I think you could kind of skate by. If Waller or Barkley gets hurt, it changes the threat of this offense completely. Because now having two dynamic weapons is much more. When you lose one of those guys, all of a sudden you're much more one-dimensional, and it makes your team much easier to defend. So I think I agree with you. I think it would either be Waller or Barkley for me after Jones and Thomas. I agree with that. And then Adore's the other one that I would throw in just because of how young we are at the corner position. I think he's really valuable for the defense. Just for that.
It hurt us when we lost him last year.
Yeah, and McKinney. I mean, there's arguments you can make for several players, but I think I'm on board with you. I think it would be Barkley or Waller. I think they're neck and neck. But guys, Gano too. Gano deserves some
True,
consideration.
that's true.
You think about, good call by Davey. You think about last year how valuable Gano was to this team. Think about all the close games we had. If we didn't have a money kicker, we'd probably win 6 games.
Yeah,
because he made some 50-yarders like they were nothing. So that's a good one. I actually like the Gano one. I wouldn't put him top 3 or 4. He's a kicker, but he's a lot more valuable than people realize.
Yeah, so best special teams player.
Yeah. But guys, we are going to close it out. Thank you guys for all the support. We're going to be live on Bad Dogs. Bad Dogs, say what you got to say.
Yeah. No doubt about it, man. I can't wait. You guys and girls are the best. I mean, football season is definitely right around the corner. I mean, we're getting close. You know, these games they don't mean anything in the grand scheme of things. It's just kind of a talent evaluation, but it's still so much fun to watch the Giants play. It really is. And excited that football season. I hate that the summer is almost over, but I love the fact that football season's here. And I feel like it's going to be a great year for the Giants. And, you know, I think our expectations are much higher going into this year. I think there's a good reason to believe that.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely looking forward to it. And one last time, guys, just so you know, like I said, I just want to do this real quick again. I won't mention it tomorrow. The NFC East Super Friends. I know you guys, I get a lot of questions about that. When you guys doing another live stream, you, Law Nation, Lord Brunson, Louis T, the NFC East guys, supposedly Wednesday, we're going to do that. But just so you know, from here on out, we have our own channel. It's right there. I'm putting it in the thing. So if you want to check that out, you want to go to the round table, it's not going to be on all our channels like it used to be. It's going to be exclusively on that channel right there in the chat. So if you guys want to watch that, that's where it's going to be. So tune in on Wednesday. And, of course, come back tomorrow for the Giants and Panthers. And then, of course, I'm live for 24 straight hours, 9 o'clock Saturday morning to 9 o'clock Sunday morning. Half all proceeds going to Stand Up to Cancer. I don't know if Chris is going to be there. Obviously, an open invitation.
I'm going to make it a point to try to pop in there at some point.
Obviously, an open invitation. We got Patty Train on the show. We're going to have each of the guys from the NFC Roundtable on there. Not all at once, but at some point. Pete from NYY News TV, Trevor from Laker Nation, Tom Grossi, Bad Dog and Tom Grossi finally going to hook up. So, and who else knows what else goes on? But, you know, it's always fun. It's always challenging, but I love doing it. And couldn't do it without you guys. So thank you. Chris, thank you for having me on the channel. Let's go Giants.
Let's go.
Everybody enjoy the rest of your Thursday. The weekend's always here, baby. I can't wait. So, Entertain Talk Sports.
Football tomorrow. Oh, football tomorrow.
Football, baby. And we out.
Let's go.